live.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green Factory.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greek Factory podcast. Nathan.
This is Colin.
This is Andrew, and I dodged the poverty bullet by it the same way my dad did with the draft. Bone spurs.
Oh. The old anti-poverty bone spurs.
Welfare checks, baby. Make it rain.
Yep. Never be too grateful for not being poor. Well, my poverty evasion technique was called a condom. I had to use them because everyone I know who slipped into poverty, you know, always had like, oh, I met this girl, and like a week later, oh, she's pregnant. It's like, well, shit, that didn't take long. And then 10 years later, it's like, hey, could you come help me put some 2x4s behind my trailer so it doesn't blow over? My 4 kids are, you know, in trouble. It's like, oh my god. Yeah, so that's the number one way to avoid that. That and don't be a crackhead.
Well, you know you know those like stock investment shows or whatever, where it has like the good investment, bad investment, like part of the fucking thing. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm just waiting for the one time somebody's like, bad investment of the week, kids. You dump all your shit into them, and they might pan out, but they probably won't.
Oh yeah, they've been saying that. They've been making that a reality for 20 years. What's our national birth rate minus immigration? Aren't we below 0% now?
Yeah, we're declining population.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Western world is, and Japan.
Yeah.
Japan's the worst, isn't it? Aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still. It used to be like a decade ago or more. They were looking for natural-born descendants of Japanese people to immigrate back to Japan and boost the population and, you know, boost the child rate. And I don't know if they're very successful.
We don't want these foreigners to boost the child rate.
Well, because nobody in Japan wants to have kids and marry. They just want to have a career and, like, go to bars and have fake girlfriends or boyfriends and then go home and work somewhere. They don't want to actually
Pretty much
procreate.
what people want here, too. It's just not as cultural.
Yeah.
Nathan, are you in the notes? The correct notes?
I think so. Why?
Because I don't see you in the notes.
Well, it's up right here. Let me refresh it. It might have faded on me.
Are you in 2019-0608?
Yeah, hold on. The screen. Okay, it just something got goofy. I make it into a small screen.
Okay.
And I think it just like lost its connection. I don't know what's going on. Am I showing up now?
Yes.
Okay, because I couldn't scroll up and down when you said something to me. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't working. I don't know what it means.
I think one of the agendas for the night should be checking off all the movies on the list. Because I know some of them we talked about to some...
Well, I put these handy-dandy superscripts in there
okay.
so when other people have watched it, they can... So when it says can, we can talk about it.
No. Well, I would say let's just talk about Unicorn Store now. Don't watch it; it's horrible. I mean, I can't say that I would do a better job directing a movie and, you know, writing it and stuff. I mean, it was her first time doing any of those things, and she tried, so points for that. But no.
Well, is that about the artist lady who's kind of nuts and?
Yeah, she kind of still believes she's kind of a kid, and yeah, she needs this imaginary friend to pull her through life, and then realizes at the end she's her own best friend or some kind of crap like that, basically, because she pulls her own self up instead of relying upon a unicorn that doesn't exist.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Samuel Jackson's wonderful as usual, But I mean, kind of a little bit of the Kingsman character and a little bit of just like a kind of take no shit motherfucker like usual. So yeah.
That reminds me, there's some really weird Nine Inch Nails memorabilia on the Nine Inch Nails website right now.
Okay.
So you can get your Nine Inch Nails, Captain Marvel shirt,
What the fuck?
where it's using like the Captain Marvel like star symbol and the Nine Inch Nails symbol in one.
Okay.
And then there's a Black Mirror Nine Inch Nails shirt.
Oh, have you seen the one with Miley Cyrus yet?
No.
Yeah, it's basically yeah, I just watched it today. Because in the end, Miley Cyrus covers a Nine Inch Nails song, and she says this character wrote it, like the character she's playing, and it's Head Like a Hole. So, kind of a weird thrash punk style. But the song she's singing throughout the show is just a reimagined version of Head Like a Hole, made to sound as if Miley Cyrus was doing an upbeat pop song version of it. But she's not actually Miley Cyrus. She's somebody else.
Yeah.
It's
Hannah
a
Montana.
The shirt you can get from NineInchNails.com. It says
Yeah.
Black Mirror on the front. Or is that no, it's the back. Nine Inch Nails, Black Mirror. And then it says Head Like a Hole, I'm on a roll, riding so high, achieving my goals.
Yep. And as soon as she started singing that song, it was like a teen pop song,
Yeah.
I was like, "That's Head Like a Hole, upbeat." I didn't do any research on it, and then in the end, when she covered Head Like a Hole, was like, I knew it. It was like, that's really weird. And I now I understand why this is, because I was thinking, God, did Nine Inch Nails go along with this? They had to, and I guess they did. So
Oh, the Captain Marvel thing though. Okay, that it's not blatantly Captain Marvel enough that Disney would sue the shit out of them. But yeah.
No, I mean, they used the shirt with permission from Nine Inch Nails. So I imagine this is the like back end of it. It's like, can we make this shirt?
yeah, there's always an agreement in there.
It makes me like, I should fucking get that shirt, but I've already bought enough stupid shirts. So
Do they have it in 4 or 5X?
let's see.
Because usually the rock and roll guys don't want fat people wearing their shirt.
Well, now
It goes up to double XL.
Okay, so no, he doesn't want really fat people wearing it.
I consider myself really fat. What are you trying to say?
We're being oppressed.
Get to your rascal scooters and march. I mean, roll to Washington.
Don't judge me.
Uh,
I know I'm fat. The last time my doctor tried to sweat me about my weight. So, what are your hobbies? I like reading books and building models. Oh, okay. You ever think about any physical activity? It's like, you mean like the action movies I watch? I see physical things. And I get tired. I break out in a sweat.
no, I
You
saw
mean like Einstein physics or like Newton physics?
What physical things are we talking about?
No, I just thought of something. When if you like wanted to really repel your doctor and never see him again, it's like, what are your hobbies? Well, I like masturbating to the sound of your voice. But other than that, I don't have a lot. I mean, is this creepy scrapbooking like what serial killers do count? I mean, is that a thing?
It's scrapbook autopsy photos. How does that sound? I hang out at slaughterhouse.
I don't use glue. I don't buy into that conglomerate bullshit. I just use blood with a little bit of cornstarch. It works just fine.
Semen for the better picture.
And if I need,
Even in corn syrup, damn it.
and if I need glitter, I just get my mom over here to shake her tits on it because after she works at strip club, she has tons to spare.
What about the Laurel and Hardy movie?
Oh, Stan and Ollie, which I didn't remember when I fucking put it in there. Very good movie. Very much thinking that, God damn it, the guy that was in Holmes and Watson with Will Ferrell, I can't think of his name right now.
John C. Reilly.
Yeah. I really respect him as an actor, and I think he's a better dramatic actor than he is comedic. And I was very much expecting a good movie from just the trailer, and it did deliver. It was very well done, and it was very well paced. It was actually kind of funny in some parts, so I think it paid pretty good. It was a story I was not really familiar with, so I don't think they really fucked up a lot of historic things with it, But I mean, I would.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't know enough. I don't know enough about him to really tell you if that was historically accurate. But it was a good piece.
How about Fighting with My Family? You saw that, and I saw that.
Yeah, very good movie. I actually didn't really know what to expect from this movie because I don't really know a lot of the history of like wrestling in like the 90s to 2000 period, and so it was kind of nice to see some of the background stuff for that, and also just kind of a nice. You don't see a lot of women like athlete come from behind type movies.
No.
I mean, it's not really a popular subject. I mean, it's very humanizing to her because she's not just. I mean, there's a part in the movie where you think she's kind of like, yeah, everybody's against her. They're just being bitches. Then it's like, no, we're just talking about her daughter. We're not. And so it kind of humanizes her more. It makes her like, oh yeah, she fucked up and she made a mistake. And Nick Frost, I think, is pretty fucking funny as the dad. And then
So you know that scene where like they're asked like is the son's girlfriend parents are over and they're like talking to him and it's like, oh, what'd you go to jail for? And it's like, oh, it's like robbery, mainly violence. Yeah, just mainly violence. And so yeah, that's like a funny line. And then you cut to the documentary this is based on, and that's like the exact same thing they said to the cameraman, like mainly violence.
no, because
I like the one part where because it's who's is it Lena or fucking who is it that she was in Game of Thrones and shit like that.
Yeah, Headley.
Yeah, is that her? Yeah.
Yeah.
She plays the mom, and she's trying to get Paige into what's her real name? It's fucking Soraya. That's her real name, which is her mom's wrestling persona. So she named her kid after her wrestling persona. And she's trying to like interest her in wrestling. It's like wrestling. You hear the crowd. It's like crack cocaine and heroin all combined. And he's like, have you done crack cocaine and heroin? He's like, not combined.
No, I mean that was a.
And where can you find that one at? Because we've talked about this enough. I just need
it's on video on demand, stuff like that. I'm not sure. It's not like on HBO or Showtime yet, but
okay.
Yeah, I was only able to watch it because Colin purchased it and it was in his profile. So otherwise, I would have been left out of the loop unless I rented it or something.
But yeah, it's. I mean, as far as I know, it's fairly faithful to the documentary. Although they changed a lot of like logistic things to make more sense. Because like when she got picked up by WWE, she didn't go to NXT because when she got picked up, NXT didn't exist at the time. Mm-hmm. It was FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, which that turned into NXT. But like to make sense, it's like they're not gonna like it's like no, people know what NXT is, so we're just gonna put her in NXT because she was like the first women's NXT champion, so she was there during the transition, but they just didn't bother doing that like in the movie.
Oh, okay.
And then the ending is kind of different because like when she comes out, the crowd is is acting like who the hell is this chick, and then like she wins them over, which that's not how it happened. She came out there and everybody knew who the fuck she was. But she did win the championship, her first appearance on WWE, and that was really a cool moment. So.
Well, I figured, I mean, if they're going to give somebody a shot at the title and give it to them in a match, they're going to let the crowd know somewhat who that person is. It's just going to be a complete mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that could be a draw, too, but it would be more shocking for the audience, I guess. I really like Vince Vaughn's performance in it, too. Like, I thought his character was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, he does do asshole pretty well as a character.
I guess I'll ruin this moment for you, but it's like a really, like... kind of almost explains his character, but it's like really like fucking like holy shit. But like they're doing this tryout and it's her and her brother and then like all these other guys, and it's like some of the other guys are like NXT guys and there's one dude that's meant to look like one NXT guy. It's funny if you know it. It doesn't matter if you don't. And he says, if I call your name, step forward. If I don't, then this is the end of the road. And he goes, Paige, thanks for coming. So like her brother doesn't get chosen and nobody in that fucking room gets chosen except for her.
Yeah.
And he doesn't offer like, "Hey, Starly, better luck next time." It's like, nope, that's it. Like your career's done.
No, they did. They did a pretty good reps, but it didn't just like touch on the brother kind of like taking it really badly and being a dick.
Yeah.
I mean, it did give more weight and a little more time with it.
Yeah, it's not that severe in the documentary, but you can in the documentary you can feel the resentfulness.
Yeah.
Where it's like when we started this, like I loved wrestling and she didn't give a fuck about wrestling. And now she's in WWE.
It's an interesting turn.
Although the one thing I didn't know her fucking page was fucking based off of Charmed. I didn't know that's what her character's name was.
Yeah, I didn't know that either because I knew a little bit about the wrestler. I heard of the name and knew who she was and stuff. So
yeah, if you go a bit further, it gets sad because she had like a spinal deformity and she got kicked in the back and she couldn't feel her arms and legs and she had to retire.
Oh Jesus. Well, that's sad.
Yeah, she was really cool. I mean, she's been doing a manager role and now she's kind of like a what they call a mouthpiece, like for a tag team of a couple of Japanese women. So it's like, okay, we don't have to have the Japanese lady try to speak English. Just let her talk. She's like their manager.
Well, I mean, is she's able, or does she get like surgery or something, able to like walk more again, or like actually get some feeling back, or?
Well, I mean, no, it's like when she got kicked in the spine, she could not feel her arms and
Oh.
legs. She can feel it now. I mean, she went to the doctor and he said, "I don't know how you're standing right now," so that's always a good sign.
Anytime it's a medical marvel, you're actually a bit able to do anything you're doing at the doctor's office. That's not a good sign.
But I guess she had scoliosis, and this just kind of ended up, and then being wrestling since she was 12, like that. That was just like a recipe for disaster.
I actually saw the quick time animation of how they do that surgery to like right the spine or whatever with scoliosis, where it's really bad. It's really fucking interesting. Like they drill and set screws in like each fucking vertebrae on each side. Then they tighten one side first with like a big fucking wire, and then they do the other side and then just get it lined up just right. It seems like it would take forever because it's just like there's animation. There's no fucking blood, so it's like in the pure vacuum of just hey, there's only a spine here and there's nothing else type of bullshit. But it's just them like slowly chiseling away to like start a hole in each fucking. And they just do that every goddamn time. Chisel and then file and then kind of like deburr the area and then drill in with a hand drill.
Did they tell you how long the procedure's supposed to last?
No, they didn't say how long. From the time lapse, it looked like it was probably like a fucking all day thing.
Yeah, that's
because you're literally doing like you're centering and measuring everything, getting everything just right. It's just like, man, that looks so fucking horrible and complicated. Like, that would suck so bad.
Yeah.
And, okay, so not taking anything
I think
away
Bumblebee.
from that movie.
Did you watch Bumblebee?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't gotten around to it.
But where's it appearing?
I just bought it on demand. It's on your what do you call
tried
it?
to
Video
get
on demand services.
I've tried to get my wife to watch it, and she hasn't said yes yet. Just like anal. No. Avengers Endgame. I'm sure everybody's seen that.
I was just wait till Nathan eventually
okay.
sees
Sorry.
that so we can talk about that.
Oh yeah, sorry, I couldn't see.
But
that.
I don't think Nathan's gonna see it.
You guys can talk. I mean, I haven't seen the last one yet.
Okay. Well, that's on Netflix, so you can catch up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably watch that one.
No, I don't want you coming here and beating the shit out of me for telling
No,
me that.
Nathan doesn't care.
No, I know.
Because I think you, how many of you actually seen because you just really like Thor Ragnarok, right?
Yeah, that was one that stood out to me. I've seen when Grayson used to be into going to movies. I've seen all the Marvel superheroes up until I think the last one we went and saw together was like Civil War.
Yeah.
And then we saw Thor Ragnarok was cool. But yeah.
Yeah. Bumblebee, it's probably the best Transformers movie. It's pretty much just like, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean like it's a great movie, but it's pretty much it's like E.T. essentially, but with a Transformer. It's like, and it takes place in the 80s, and it's pretty much just shot like an 80s movie.
Well, it's got the best Rotten Tomato score of any Transformers
Yeah.
movie, doesn't it? I think it's like 80% or something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's watchable, and like John Cena does okay in it. He's like, it's John Cena being John Cena, so like he always has to like, he's like starts out supposed to be like this really serious military guy, but then he's always like popping in with jokes every once in a while. I mean, they're funny, but it just kind of seems like he's breaking out of his character to like make these jokes. But there's one that's really fun where like, it's like she's teamed up with Bumblebee, and like they're trying to like kill Bumblebee or figure out what the fuck he is. And then the Decepticons show up, and it's like, well, he's a prisoner, and we're trying to find him. Will you help us? And then like there's like, it's like, yeah, we'll give you access to like our satellite network. We'll help you find him, and in return for whatever. And John Cena's like, should we trust these guys? They're literally called the Decepticons.
It's like literally they should have just came up with a name off the top of their head. Weird, it would have been better.
We're the Trusticons.
You can trust us.
And it's not directed by
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. So
That's like the best part about the movie right there. That's all I'm gonna say. It's literally like I don't know why Michael Bay still has a license to make anything. I know he made a lot of money.
He makes money.
I know, but it's not a movie format that ages well at all. I mean, The Rock and some of his other earlier stuff ages better, but it's all the Transformers shit's like unwatchable now. Like I haven't even tried to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, really, only the first one was ever good. Like the further they got into it, it was more terrible. Well, that third one's all right. The one where they just blow up Chicago with weird giant.
I just like how the robots keep getting more and more racist as the movie trilogy goes on. The first one, they're just the slight racism.
They're racist, or the way they're
the
characterized.
Characters are racist,
Okay.
yes. Where it's just like the slightly gangster black robot, and then the totally dope, how two people might talk to each other, but actually not how black people talk. Twin robots in the second one.
And a couple guys that sound like Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah, well, not Speedy Gonzalez, but like the Wayans brothers, but Transformers or whatever. And then like the third one, I think they're still in that one too. And then it's just.
And then we both saw Happy Death Day.
And I'm the only one that's seen Happy Death Day 2.
Yeah, you're the only one that saw that one. I've been meaning to see it, but I just.
Yeah, I rented it off Redbox because I just wanted to watch it.
Which I think I just explained the premise. Like, it's a fun movie. It's basically just a horror movie, but Groundhog's Day, which I guess is kind of a horror movie in and of itself. But this one, the loop isn't. Well, I guess the loop was always when she dies. So that's how the loop is always like re-entered, is through death.
Well,
And then she vaguely carries the wounds from each death forward, because there's like talks like. There's one time she wakes up and she can like barely like walk or anything like that, and it's like it's becoming more easy to kill her, so she has to like figure this shit out before before she actually dies. I don't even know if that's a threat that she'll actually die.
It is in both, and that's kind of. I mean, I actually dislike that about the movie. I mean, I know it added urgency and had moved the plot forward and stuff, but at the same time, I thought it was like. Well, if the whole gimmick is, and you're playing off the fact that you're ripping off Groundhog's Day, making a horror twist, then just make it like Groundhog's Day. Bill Murray never felt like his rush to move things forward was him, being more depressed in his life and figuring that he was never going to accomplish anything the way he wanted to do it. But in this movie, it's like, oh, okay, you're just all these injuries stacked up, so you should technically be dead like a million times over, but you're still functioning. And it's like, no, that's not how the human body works. You can't technically be dead and then be functioning at the same time. It just doesn't work. But the second one I found entertaining like the first one, but it's just like the first one where it's like, oh, I've seen that once. Like, don't need to ever see that again. And that's
I just remember the trailer. It just looked like it was a funner movie, I guess, because there's a part where she just goes up into a skydiving class in her bikini and just jumps out of the plane without a parachute. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna die now.
It is and it isn't.
Okay.
I actually like the twist they took with it. Not that it's much of a twist, but I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, okay, because they first kind of started explaining it, where the Asian guy is like a physics student and he's doing a theoretical design for this like super powerful like electromagnetic field that he's doing a prototype for, And so it's just like, oh, okay, that's what caused the loop, and it's just expanding, so now he's going through it. But then it's like, oh, no, it's not that. It's he popped through from another universe to kill himself to stop the loop that's in the other universe, too. So she goes to the other universe to stop it, and all these other universes to try and stop it. And blah, blah, blah. It's... I don't know. It works. I don't know how else I would have written it or how else I would have written it, but it's nice. It does its job, and it has funny parts. Has a nice Back to the Future thing in it and other shit. Because it's like, she says, never seen Back to the Future, then she starts quoting Back to the Future for like the next 10 minutes and shit. But yeah, I mean...
There's like a lame joke at the end of the first one where it's like, you ever seen Groundhog Day? No. It's like, fuck you, movie.
That out there if anyone's paying attention, yeah.
Well, like the post-credit scene for the second one, I don't know if they're actually... I have no idea how this movie did for the second one.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it basically teased the third one where they worked for the government doing like loop time traveling shit. So yeah, I don't know how that would work if they did a third one. But,
Yeah, but there's somebody talking about horror series in general, and there was a funny like analyzation of it where the series will start out like horrific, and then like as time goes on, like they stop being scary, so then they just start amping up the humor.
yeah, and I mean, I think this actually works well as a campy, like funny horror movie. I don't think it was ever really intended to be like a straight scare thing.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is
The
good.
first one was humorous too, so I think it's supposed to combine, and I think it just seems smarter that way, because like a lot of this just kind of following the lines of like standard horror tropes, but then like here's one twist and it makes it kind of funny and enjoyable, and dangerous all at the same time.
Yeah. It establishes humor and a sense of urgency.
Yeah, but I haven't told a movie to go fuck itself like that since Predator.
Oh.
Or wait, is it The Predator or just Predator? The
Uh,
latest one.
The one that just came out?
Yeah.
Predator. The Predator, I think, is like the one with
The
Topher
original
Grace and
one?
shit in it.
No, that one's Predators.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I can't. I know they're trying to bank off the recognizability of the name, but just change it a little bit. Just like,
but yeah, there's that part in Predator where like they're like the bus is getting attacked, and they get out of the bus, and there's like a bar with a bunch of bikes parked out front, and the guy goes get to the choppers.
oh yeah.
And I like literally stopped what I was doing, looked up the movie, said "fuck you," and went back to playing Sudoku.
Well, I'd kind of like to see what Shane Black had to reshoot for that movie now, considering it did massive reshoots apparently.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know about the whole like the new X-Men movie that's out. That whole trade sequence was a massive add-on at the last minute, because apparently it changes the entire tone of the movie. It doesn't seem like it fits.
Yeah, I don't hear good things about that latest X-Men movie.
Supposedly it's the most boring X-Men movie ever,
Oh,
which is kind of
that's
sad.
that's an achievement.
Yeah, you're working it to get to that.
Yeah, interdimensional being possesses a human being with the greatest psychological abilities ever to genocide the whole planet if she wants to. The most boring.
Oh, I'm
movie
sorry.
ever.
This has 22% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Is that better or worse than X-Men 3: Last Stand?
I don't.
There's been people that have compared it to X-Men 3 and said they
Well,
like
it's a
X-Men
similar
3
story.
better. No, I know, but they said X-Men 3 is actually ballsier.
Okay.
Because it literally because it says Jean Grey puts like the future of the mutants and humankind's relations back, and like, oh, we're gonna risk everything because Jean Grey is doing this to everybody, or the Phoenix is, or whatever. And it was like nothing she does would actually harm anything. Like it's all PG-13ish. There's no actual like real life consequences to any of her actions. Whereas X-Men 3 is like, oh yeah, she's legitimately like a weapon of mass destruction. So.
Well, it's like immediately out of the gate, we're gonna kill Cyclops and Professor X.
Well, the one
That's
guy said
kinda
there's
bold.
a line that Cyclops delivered in the new movie that literally had him and his friend laughing for 5 minutes in the movie theater. So I don't know what that possibly could be. But
Well, The Last Stand gets 58% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, there you go.
So
But what is X-Men Origins Wolverine like touted as the worst X-Men movie so far?
And that one's pretty bad, but it's like has
I think it's
mo-
at least probably 30%.
It has
though.
moments though. There's just a lot of bad CGI in that movie, like unexpectedly bad CGI.
I guess that new Godzilla movie wasn't very good either.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about the 2014 one, like going back to that, and kind of seeing like talking about like it like this one's kind of a reaction to that because I guess there's a lot of outcry that there's only 11 minutes of Godzilla in that movie,
Yeah.
and so this one was like, you know, it's like, all right, here's all the monster action you could want, but it's like completely misses the point.
Oh.
Yeah, because I think some guys' reviews literally is like, if you just want to see giant, awesome monster battles, this is the movie for you. But if you want giant, awesome monster battles with human recap between scenes, then this is the movie for you as well. So, I mean, yeah, it had a lot of really good actors in it, and supposedly everybody sucks. so, because even the girl that plays like 11, like somebody wrote her performance as like, I can't remember her character's name. All I know is that girl detached from parents, always in trouble. That's her role in the movie, and it's like, yeah, I think it's almost a 2-hour movie too. So,
Oh yeah, it's got those. All those movies are.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Rocketman.
but that's it's kind of a shame because like that 2014 Godzilla, like I fucking love that movie. It's like a movie that has problems. So it's like I think you buy into Bryan Cranston and they basically just like, oh, he's not the lead of this movie, and that kind of throws you for a loop. It's like, oh, this dipshit is Kick-Ass is our lead hero, and he accomplishes nothing, which is kind of an interesting choice. But like that scene where like they jump out of the airplane like into the storm clouds and you got like the red streakings like flares and stuff like that.
and the
That's-
ominous music and shit.
yeah, it's like that was a fucking amazing scene.
Oh, they did. Yeah, the promo materials on that movie, they quoted Oppenheimer, or they actually played Oppenheimer, and then they did what's that thing from
2001 thing.
yeah, Thus Spake Zarathustra or something from 2001. It's like, oh, they were swinging for the bleacher they were swinging for the bleachers. They didn't quite get it, but it wasn't bad. The first part of it was cool. After that, it just kind of okay.
And then like I was really impressed with Kong Skull Island.
Yeah, that was good.
Like that had kind of a similar it had a you know, story's pretty simple, but like the imagery, like the kind of like style to it was like really well done. I thought like it was kind of a good addition to that Godzilla movie. And then this is kind of, and this, well, I haven't seen this new Godzilla movie, but it seems like it's not really like
It takes both
It's-
those good, better.
we're not
setups.
making the artful $200 million CGI movie.
Yeah, I liked Kong Skull Island is like, oh, somebody watched a lot of Apocalypse Now. They came up with Kong's because like the whole Samuel L. Jackson and those guys arc. I mean, well, they're helicopter pilots right at the end of the Vietnam War, so it makes perfect sense. But then, yeah, I think they did I like that. Yeah, because who directed Godzilla? He's the one who directed Rogue One too and Monsters.
Yeah, fucking.
That guy's
I've seen
name.
it, yeah. Something, fucking, was it with a G? Something like Gareth or whatever.
Yeah, Gareth Edwards, I think. or
Yeah.
something.
Well, supposedly even the guy that directed the new one's actually a good director. So I mean, I think it's more down to studio choice. Like they skewed very heavily with like what
Well, yeah,
Colin said.
the one that directed this one, he did that. It was an anthology Halloween movie called Trick or Treat, which I hear is good.
Yeah, it's a
and
really awesome
he did
movie.
Krampus, which that's a pretty good like B horror movie.
Yeah, I own both those actually. They're good movies.
Yeah, I mean he's a good director. So, but
Is
But
that
no,
us?
I mean, what Colin said though about like literally the movie just seems like oh yeah, we took the studio audience poll and they said they wanted more monster movie action, and that's what we gave them, and they're still pissed off. This makes no sense.
You gave them Mothra and Tiamat or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, Rocket Man's probably the only one that's gotten really good reviews in the last couple
Yeah.
of weeks it's come out.
well, I
Which
mean
is
it's summer movie season, so it's like a lot of superhero stuff. So it's like
but it seems,
it's almost impervious to like whatever. Although it seems like the Dark Phoenix is going to lose out to Life of Pets 2 in the box office, which that's not a
Life
good
of
sign.
Pets 2 didn't get a very good review either. It didn't get 20.
Well, yeah.
But you know,
Well,
it's for
a-
kids, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's something where.
And Patton Oswalt's in it.
Oh.
Glad he's working.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or is the summer blockbuster season like already pretty much done?
Yeah, I mean, Avengers came out. What are you gonna do?
Well, no, I'm just saying it's still like all the rest of June, all of July, and August to go, and besides Men in Black, I can't name another fucking movie that comes out in that.
When's
time
that
period.
weird, that Brad Pitt movie coming out that's based off
September?
that really complicated sci-fi novel? I can't believe they adapted.
I think it's September.
Ad Astra, is that the name?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that movie looks it's gonna be really good or it's gonna be a piece of shit. Like I can't tell from the
The only
trailer.
other thing I can think of is that not Calvin and Hobbes, Hobbs and Shaw movie
Oh.
that's coming out.
With the car chase guys with the Rock and
Oh.
the dude from.
Yeah, I don't give two shits about
Jason
that's
Statham.
not.
I mean, it looks like it'll be fun, but like I think I pretty much like this until like Terminator comes out. I think these are my two movies for years. I'm just gonna see Endgame and John Wick 3, and that's kind of like the movie I was really excited about.
Oh, that's what me and Grayson saw. John Wick 3.
I
Yeah.
was surprised Brightburn's pretty much already out of the box office already
Got
after a couple
terrible
weeks.
reviews.
Yeah, but it's supposedly a pretty solid movie by people who actually watched it, not just critics that are like, "Oh, there's no artistic value here. Who wants to see evil Superman go around and kill people?"
Below 60%, I'm not throwing my $20 at it. So. I listen to critics to a certain extent, and you know that's.
Although I'd have to bring you around and weigh the gun because remember how terribly that movie was received. And I'm like, no, this is a great movie.
I'm not saying like it's some masterpiece that's everybody should go see, but it's like just the premise alone of like just kid Superman fucking losing it and deciding to just murder everybody in fucking town for being a dick to him. It's like just that alone in with that premise, it's like, yeah, would I say it's original? To a point, yes, because who else has done that shit? I mean, it's ripping off something, but also, I mean, I don't know. I think it has artistic merit.
Well, I'd have to see it when it
Yeah.
comes out on my.
I guess I'm interested in The Dead Don't Die, a fucking
Oh yeah.
a Jim Jarmusch
Well, I guess
zombie
I just
movie.
don't process that movie because I figure it'll never come out here. It'll just fucking come out on video on demand. at some
I
point.
know. Sometimes I get like those indie movies at Marcus, but
I got to put asses in seats. Is everyone current on Chernobyl?
I still haven't watched any of it.
I watched it. I watched all of it and I listened to all the podcasts. So I'm done
Yeah,
with Chernobyl.
Finished listening to all the podcasts today. So, no, I'm current.
Oh yeah, and the Spider-Man movie, which
Yeah, that's probably the next biggest one.
I don't know if I care to see it, but yeah. And the Uber cop movie thing looks dumb.
Yep.
And there's another movie Dave Bautista's in around the same time frame that one actually looks kind of funny with like the kid and him as a spy or whatever. That actually seems kind of funny.
Oh fuck! Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's the movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, never mind. I guess I'll go see that.
Yeah, the Quentin. Yeah, me and Grayson
Yeah.
goes. He loved the Hateful Eight. I took him to see it in the theater because he
Or-
watched.
Will they
All
do
the
with the because the extended cut, has anybody watched that yet on Netflix? Anybody?
Of what?
Hateful
Oh, the Hateful
Eight.
Eight. No.
Yeah, like the 4-hour fucking long version.
No.
Grayson did. I'm gonna have to ask him.
Yeah, ask him how it was because I'm kind of wondering if they'll do a limited theatrical run because I would pay to go see that again in theaters if they could. If
What's
they do
Grayson watching now? Oh, he's going through all the Clint Eastwood westerns from the 60s. And 70s.
That. Oh,
He's watching all those.
yeah. I mean, I've only seen The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and I loved that movie. It was a fucking wonderful movie.
I think I've seen them all at some point or another. I'd have to rewatch them.
I think I've seen Good, Bad, and the Ugly the most. Like also like in bits and pieces on cable at times, and then like actually buying it.
Well, I mean, isn't also their Fistful of Dollars?
Fistful
Man
of
from
Dollars, a
Nowhere?
few dollars more.
Oh,
A few dollars more. I think like people sleep on that, but I think that's a really good Western movie.
isn't there also The Man from Nowhere? Or The Man from something? Sounds familiar. Maybe I'm thinking of a John Wayne Western instead, but
Yeah, I'm not sure that the Clint Eastwood westerns that fall out of that director's staple are like the good ones are Pale Rider, Outlaw Josie Wales. Yeah, but he's not watching those. He's just watching the Leone films right now. I don't know why. He just goes to. It's like, Dad, can I buy these? Yeah, go ahead. Whatever.
And Once Upon a Time in the West is an interesting one. He's Clint Eastwood's not in it, but that's a Sergio Leone. That's probably like the biggest budget Leone movie.
I think that was the one where American Studios kicked in some money.
Yeah. And then we're like, never again.
Nope.
I don't know if that didn't make its money or not, but God, he might have.
What was that the end of his cycle?
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if he's dead. I assume he's dead. I don't actually know. Because isn't like his composer still around doing shit?
Oh, Morricone, yeah.
Yeah.
The guy who did the Ecstasy of Gold.
I've been trying to find Metallica did a song with him that I heard once on the radio, and I've been trying to find like a copy of it somewhere, and I can't find it, so I have no idea where the fuck that came off of.
Yeah, they did a one with a full orchestral accompaniment once too, called S&M Symphony and Metallica. So it was sort of interesting.
Well, it's just like I
It
mean,
reminds
I
me
like.
of Foo Fighters. They did that cover of "Darling Nikki."
Oh yeah, that was
And
fucking awesome.
it's
too.
like you can only like hear it on the radio, or if you buy an import copy of like one of their singles. But there's like no other way to actually get it. I mean, other than easily steal it off the internet. But
well, just like there's a.
Why would I want to pay the artist for this? Going around trying to give you money. No, right. Okay, I'll just fucking steal it then. There you go.
Well,
Done and done.
Like Metallica's cover of "Turn the Page" is fucking wonderful too. I mean, it's a very good cover.
have you listened to that album?
Yeah.
Okay, because that whole album's covers.
No, I know it is. It's just something I really. That's one of the first Metallica songs I actually heard on my own.
That's like that was weirdly like my first and CD. That was the only Metallica CD I ever bought.
Oh, okay.
But that's because like Metallica's one of those bands. Like same with Nirvana. I never bought a Nirvana CD. One, because you had them all, and two, you could hear them all on the radio.
Yeah, that's
And now that's not even. I don't even know if I've heard an album I actually liked on the radio anymore. Like, there's not enough rock stations or stations in this area that play like good music that I care to listen to.
No, you gotta go to Spotify if you want to find your niche.
and plus music that's made and produced now by and large is dead. Like you're not going to stumble across anything like, oh, I kind of like this. You got to go look for it.
Oh yeah.
Well, Spotify's really good at like if you just like start listening to a bunch of shit and they'll start suggesting things or just going down a spot. Because the great thing is like you listen to one song, you'll get 10 band suggestions, and you're like, what's this band I never fucking heard of? And you just like go down this hole. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, shit, I spent like $30 in music today on iTunes. I woke up between the new Black Keys album, the new Nationals album.
The National has a new album out?
Yeah.
Cool.
I haven't listened to all of it yet. So far, I like it more than their last album, which actually won a Grammy, which I was fucking surprised by. I was like, yeah, I was like, that won a Grammy? Like, I would say there's 2 or 3 good songs in that whole album, but, you know, that's just me, and I've listened to their fucking music since they were a band, so I don't fucking know.
And that was not their strongest album, their last one.
No, and that's why I was kind of surprised, because it says on, like, the descriptor for the new
Bad
album.
competition. Like, they were the top of the heap.
Well, it's on their descriptor for the new album. It's like, the band was so tired after fucking touring across the world for their Grammy-winning album, and they just wanted to, you know, go back and hide for a couple of years, but their producer had a really awesome idea or whatever, and so they decided to make another album right away, and it's like, and there's a couple songs I picked out right away that are like, oh, this is actually kind of good, and this is something different from what they did before, and it's actually not bad different, which was most of their last album. Other than that, like Eminem's new album was $7 on iTunes, and it was actually pretty decent from the clips I heard of it.
Oh, is
Tame Impala had a new single they released, and then Interpol released an EP of songs cut off their last album that they didn't make the cut. So it was like, oh, okay, I'm buying all this and listening to it. I didn't buy the rest of the Rammstein album yet, though, because I didn't really like a lot of the other stuff that was on there so far from the tidbits I was listening to. Maybe I would get in more to it if I had time.
Oh.
Not a big angry German rock fan a lot of the time anymore.
Let's see. I got a new model.
You should get.
Cindy Crawford.
She's old news.
This is my model from
Oh yeah.
It's big. Very big.
I like how it's called the Liberator because they're liberating people's souls from their bodies.
Yeah, it's got a 3-foot wingspan, so that'll be a fun one. Actually, not that. It was expensive, but not that expensive.
I know you've built quite a few now, especially bigger ones like the Millennium Falcon, and some of the other like your tanks are pretty decent size. Where do you store all of this stuff?
Oh, I have. I buy industrial shelving units, and
okay.
I just add to them because they're kind you can lash together.
Oh.
So I could get like 4 or 5 in here if I had to.
Oh, okay. 'Cause,
not everything is out all the time. Some of it goes into storage, rotates around. I don't keep everything. Yeah, I don't build anything. If I can keep it, I try to keep 1/32 scale as my go-to, and then maybe one.
Because I forgot to bring models to show because I had painted a whole dirt bike and ATV attack squad for my tournament last weekend, and I totally fucking forgot about it. So next time.
I try to stay in 1/35, 1/32 scale. I don't like the small stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to. Well, with speaking as a fellow member of Fat Male Society, with large, unnimble fingers and onset arthritis.
Well, I like. It's not that. I mean, I can work small. I have all the tools to do it, but I like to really like work the details and weathering.
No.
And if you're working on a tank the size of a Matchbox car, I mean, you can do some crazy shit, but you can't really like that's what I like about Machine and Krieger. It's a lot of like flat organic shapes that you can really like twist and grind and mess with and try to get that like, oh, that's what that's what happens with the gunfire bounces off something. And the World War II stuff is just like ready made for. There's so many photos like this is what this really looks like if this happened to it. It's like, okay, there we go. How can we do that? And this Liberator is going to be what am I trying to learn on this one? Well, first of all, how to build a good World War II plane model, which is a whole separate sub art. I'm not much of a plane guy. I have a lot more experience with sci-fi and then armor. And this is going to be my first foray into lacquer paints. So it's going to be garage project because you can't do that in the house. So I'm going to play around with all clad and try to get that burnished aluminum look that a lot of these planes have.
No, I mean I like the fact that you brought up that there's a lot of reference to draw from, so it makes it easier to try and replicate, or at least a good example to go off of.
Yeah,
like that's the only thing that sucks about the fantasy part of what I do. Yeah, I mean it's still vehicles, and it's still kind of like there's certain things you always do to vehicles, but there's no like, oh, I can just go look at a picture from this thing and I can go reference this stuff and I can figure out what actually it looks like or what actually happened to it after battle damage. And yeah,
I can't remember. Did you follow through on the heavy metal bomber idea yet?
It's still sitting there.
I don't think
That was that got kind of supplanted by the Liberator.
Okay.
Because the heavy metal bomber theme was yet another different kind of paints that have suddenly become hard to find.
Oh, okay.
Paints I wanted, so I'm hold on that. I've the paints I want for this one, they are in stock and widely available. The heavy metal bomber, when I was getting ready to pull it out of the box and wash it up, I was down there talking, and it's like, yeah, I want to do kind of what you call a rotoscope paint, and I know this paint here looks like it. And it's like, yeah, and the colors you want for some reason, because everything's from China or Asia, and it just goes through these weird curves where they don't get it, and then they'll get an entire semi truck full of it. So that's supply chain management from 4,000 miles away.
well, that and I'm sure the tariffs and shit aren't helping anything right now either.
No, they're not helping anything. Everything's getting more expensive in that genre. So.
Because somebody's saying like the board game industry is going to take a really big hit soon because all their shit comes from China and all the tariffs.
Everything. What were we talking about down at the store yesterday? there's not like a percentage point you can put on it, but it's like everything seems to have gone up $1, just like across the board. I'm talking paints and glues and things
Yeah.
like that. So, and then models, I don't know. Some of it's, a lot of it with that is not tariffs. It's the way it was explained to me by someone who's in the business is there was a huge distributor in America for all the models, and they went bankrupt last year. And then a bunch of little companies filled in the void and kind of tried to take over, and they're just fucking thieves. So they're just raising the prices because it's like guy was telling me I can't sell people a model that a year ago I was selling for $35 for $55 because people are going to notice that. They're going to look at it and be like, pass. I'm not doing that. So
Yeah.
some of it is tariffs, but some of it is just the
Shady
internal
business practices.
of those companies. Because I forget what these car kits are like. You literally can buy them for $8 a crack or 12, and you're selling them for 35. So it's like, yeah, that's a pretty rarefied error for profit.
Well,
But not
yeah,
every like that. The real high demand, high dollar stuff. There's not a lot of profit in that. So,
Well, I know all GWs. If you buy their regular models like tanks, infantrymen, stuff like that, it's all different type of plastic. It's a lighter grade. It's not as thick and rigid. If you buy their terrain pieces, it's all Chinese made. So it's simpler molds, not as detailed in some instances. It's very hard, very dark gray plastic.
yes.
And so it's like, well, you can tell the markup on that. Like some of the trains as much as $200 for like a landing pad or whatever. But so I mean, the price can get up there. But I'm assuming they make a shit ton of money when they do sell that stuff. 'Cause
Oh yeah.
it's fucking China.
I mean, if you're selling stuff out of China, I mean, wow, someone. It's different for different things, but I mean, their labor rates aren't like zero. Like at one point, like 8 years ago, the effective Chinese labor rate was zero for whatever product you're selling, because that's like one of the smallest of your costs.
Yeah.
They're not like that anymore. It's a little more. But like Indonesia, where they make a lot of clothes and stuff, essentially it's like it's so low it has no bearing on the cost of the shirt or the whatever they're making. Because some of these people are just being paid in like food
Yeah.
and shit like that. Like Chinese economies sort of evolved away from that. But yeah, when you're making stuff over there, you're literally paying people nothing. That's
yeah.
the only reason that they're there. No one's there because they, they're just like, oh, they work so much harder. As a matter of fact, no, because they know they're getting fucked too because they're not stupid.
Well, I mean,
It's
that's
the Zhejiang plant in China where they make the Focus. Because we were making the Focus here the same time they were there, and you talk to people from over there, like our engineers that would go over there and try to help them with problems. They literally have 5 or 6 people doing sometimes what we have one person doing here, but there's no automation there.
yeah.
It's just like there's not a robot handing you something or an automatic sorting machine where you're just grabbing and putting the wiring harness in. No, these guys are walking over to loading bays, like matching the harness up. It's like, oh, this is the A harness, this is the C harness. They're not doing any downstream or upstream sequencing or anything. So that's why they have twice as many people building the cars, because they're not throwing that money in at other places. And plus, all those guys are making cars that they can't buy, so it's kind of. Of course, now America's getting to that way too. The people building the cars cannot afford to buy.
Well, maybe pretty soon we'll go back to the old sharecropper and the work for whatever the fuck we give you system, where somebody works for Ford and they get a free car every 2 years or something. That's their wage.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. We're heading. Believe me, there's people. They talk about fascism and Nazism and everything else taking over in this country and all that fear and hand waving. Which yeah, you can see. Like there's people that would do it if they could, but really what we're heading back towards is feudalism. That's like we're going back way before fascism. We're going back to. This isn't neo-Nazism we're heading towards, it's neo-feudalism. But we're just, that's, I mean, if they'll never admit that that's where they're going, but based on what they're doing, it's like, okay, what other solution do I have here? It's like, no one's going to make anything money-wise. Everyone's going to be handcuffed to whatever job they're doing. You don't want to pay them any money, give them any benefits, and they're supposed to work. So What is this? That sounds like feudalism. It's all just kings and lords somewhere in a castle, and everyone else is screwed. But, yeah, you're basically feudalist. You want to bring that back.
Yeah,
And you don't want to tell people they can't vote and have hereditary monarchies, because I mean, people would obviously see the bad in that. So instead, you just want to spread lies around on computers and the news and everything else, and hope people are just dumb enough to be like, "Yeah, I like what he's saying." That Hannity guy's really got it all figured out. Yeah, that's your man. That's your guy.
Well, I mean, Did anybody see Jim Jeffries' segment, like little segment he did about like conspiracy theories and shit like that? Recently, he posted on YouTube and
No, I haven't seen that.
Comedy Central. He got 6 different people in a room together, and he just started spitballing and asking questions about conspiracy theories. Where it's like he asked one guy, it's like, okay, so tell me about this whole flat Earth thing. Like, we all know it's bullshit, right? And then like 5 guys were like, yeah. And then one guy's like, fuck you, it's not bullshit. This is why it's not bullshit. And just breaks it down, and then everybody else is saying, no, it's bullshit. And then he asks about stupid shit like aliens and fucking anti-vaxxing, all this other chemtrails, all this other crap. So it's basically like an 8-minute segment about him kind of like laughing his ass off, but still being like interested in like really why is this a belief of yours, and why is there proof for this or whatever. And then he was like, this is because he was like, right now we just live in an age of bullshit, because everybody can spout whatever they want and nobody can deny it, because everybody just makes up bullshit and says whatever their facts are, they're complete crap. So it's just like, yeah, we need to end this age because nobody knows what's up and down anymore, and everybody has their own fucking opinion and nobody's right. So,
well, I mean, it's not some stuff, some issues that are really dense and complex. Yeah, most people aren't going to see through those, and I understand that requires closer study and maybe just taking the time to learn from experts, like at least what the gist of it is. But yeah, things like flat Earth should be just qualified right out of the gate. Like, no, shut the fuck up, come on. Or, even the anti-vaxxing stuff. Like, I understand how these people have correlated things and come up with bad conclusions. So it's like, I get your passion and your verve, and like you think you're protecting the children when you're actually doing completely the opposite. But yeah, okay. But yeah, some of that real esoteric, weird, like flat Earth and all that stuff is like, no. Because if you look into that flat Earth stuff, which I've heard so much about it, I actually had to. God comes into it pretty quick. Once you start beating them to death with like, how does GPS work? Explain solar rotation. Just stuff we learned in grade school. Then God starts to be invoked, and it's all of a sudden your science is nothing compared to my God. Is okay, all right. So why didn't you just come out and say this was a religion at first? Then I could ignore it, instead of having to spend time like, why do you believe this?
Wait, what's the correlation there? Is there something in the Bible that says the Earth's flat?
No, it just becomes. God would never put us on something dangerous like a sphere that spins through the universe.
Yeah, that's a sound argument.
Oh yeah, well, none of it's sound. I mean, these people, it's like, well, explain to me why, FM radios don't just go on forever. If it was just flat, everything would be line of sight forever. You wouldn't have to deal with curvature. You wouldn't need satellites or anything. No, it's all fake. But yeah, essentially, God starts to come into it. It's like, why are the other planets round and we're not? Well, this is a special place God made for us. This flat thing that just orbits around the sun. It's all nonsense. It's hokum.
So what you're saying is, when somebody who says God won't allow this, what they're really trying to say is, my ignorance won't allow this.
I'm saying I don't understand this.
Ignorance wins fatality.
No, because I mean, it is a very prudent point, because it's basically, if you don't believe that one person that goes to church every Sunday, then you're in the wrong, no matter what the fuck it is, whether it's abortion, the earth being flat, science not being real, vaccines not doing anything, or, Trump being the most morally righteous person we've ever seen on the face of this earth. since we're not the person that sits their ass in a special chair once every week.
Trump is Jesus reborn.
If that's the case, then I'm sorry, but no, it's
Well, and the thing is, like with people's religious beliefs, like I'm okay if you have those beliefs, but and if that's going to be your default mode whenever you start losing an argument to me, well, that's just going to tell me, hey, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Because guess what? Me versus God, I'm probably not going to win. Because whether God's real or not, whatever God you've created in your mind is definitely has all the answers, and you're not going to listen to anyone else. Unless I could find a way to put like a radio transmitter in your head and you didn't know it, and it'd be like, Bill, this is God. This is what you've got to start doing.
I don't want you to wear pants on Tuesday, okay?
God, my name's Steve. Bill, listen to me.
A lot of things are going to start happening, Bill. You're not going to understand all of them. You feel ashamed and weird, but we're just going to go with this, Bill, because I am the God of the universe. So. But yeah, usually once people invoke that, or that's all they talk at me, because I'm all about interesting conversations with people, which is why I'm mostly silent, because they're rare to find. And when you do, it's like, oh, this guy's an interesting cat. Tell me your story. And like I said, if you start proselytizing to me about all because your points of view you can't defend in any way, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. So let's not ever talk again, because nothing good's going to come out of it.
Oh, speaking of interesting conversations, I had one on Thursday on my lunch break because I was talking to a couple guys that I ran into while I went to the hobby shop really quick to pick up something. And they were talking about, one guy was just bitching about his daughter came home from college and she was doing nothing besides sitting on the sofa, sleeping and eating, and that was her summer break so far. And she was
God, that sounds great.
and so he was bitching about her as like, well, you know, she is in a chemical engineering degree. She's got through 2 years and she's in the last 2, which is the hardest and stuff like that. And then like one guy who was in IT was talking about, was like, oh yeah, you know, it sucks though, because some industries now, they just want experience. They don't want a college degree. And I was like, well, I think chemical engineering is not one of those things where you can just walk up to somebody and hand them your resume. Here's all my experience. Where's your degree? Oh no, here, let me do a name drop. Ted Kaczynski. Boom. This is Walter White. Double boom. And then just like, it's like, do I got the job? And it's like, I don't know, how pure's the meth you're cooking out of your back of your car? 98% pure. You got the job.
So I could whip up some fentanyl right now.
So we were just talking about like other things that basically everybody, because it is true, like a lot of people do want just experience now and not just a college degree, which fucks the people that spend all that money on a college degree. But at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, you also can't really be like a proctologist. It's like, if you're a gay dude, can you just be a proctologist because you have a lot of experience with people's assholes? Is that how it works? It's like, if I fuck a lot of chicks, can I just be a gynecologist? Like, just based on experience? Like, I've slept with 200 women. I have definitely enough experience to be a gynecologist.
Can your sources back you up on you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can make up any
14 paternity suits.
Sorry, I know I kind of want to do a deep nosedive, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's, I don't know.
Well, here I have the segue of all segues, a new segue for the show. We read a book.
We read a book, read a short story. Is this a book or a short story?
It's a short story. It's really a magazine article for an internet magazine thing.
Yeah.
The Atavist,
It's pretty
which I'd never heard of
length
before.
to it, though.
Atavist?
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it looks like, because I kept misreading it as activist. I'm like, wait, there's no C.
Oh. Yeah.
But yeah, I accidentally found this book because the Adam Higginbotham wrote the was it Midnight in Chernobyl?
Yes.
And I was looking at like, well, what else did he write? And then I saw this, 1,000 Pounds of Dynamite, and I read the description. I was like, I've never fucking heard of this. Getting that book.
Yeah, this was I'd never heard of this either. But when I was reading it, it's like, oh yeah, this is the 70s and 80s. All kinds of fucked up shit happened. We don't, because a lot of people forget or don't realize or have never read about it. Like from 1964 until like the early 90s, there was what they call the crime tsunami in America. Like murder rates and everything they're literally double what they are today. And I know today we talk about like, well, our society is really fucked up, and it is, but we're not. The murder rate isn't like 3.4 out of 100,000 people being killed. It's a lot lower than that. And yeah, this was the kind of crazy stuff that people did in the 70s and 80s.
Well, also what's crazy is like there's video like on all this stuff, but I've never seen like a news report about this. There's like, looking back at the 80s, like here's the crazy story. So I'm kind of thinking like looking up the time frame and seeing like what news story was overriding this like crazy like essentially movie plot happening in Nevada.
Yeah,
or was it Nevada? It was in Nevada,
Lake
right?
Tahoe.
Lake
Nevada.
Tahoe.
yes,
Okay.
it was the Harvey's Resort Hotel bomb, and that was in it was right at the state line because it was called the state.
Oh yeah, it's called State Line. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was weird that there was a place called Harvey's Resort and Hotel. Like that seems like a very bland name. But yeah.
All right, who wants to take out like what's this about and like what happens?
I guess I could. So anyway, in 1980, a guy named John Burgess, and I know that's probably not how to pronounce his name because he was a Hungarian.
It's like John Burgess or
Yeah, well,
I
I
just
mean,
call him Big John in the story.
oh, yeah.
Big John the Hungarian, who flew for the Luftwaffe and then was sent to a gulag because he got shot down, I guess, and then was released and came back to Hungary. I think right around the time of the Prague Spring when the Russians were just rolling through and shooting everyone. And he's like, fuck this, I'm going to America. And so he wound up in California and was actually a very successful businessman, but a horrible gambler. And also just sound like
He makes it sound like he was a good gambler at first. Like, hey, he can beat those dealers anyway. And then, like, his hubris comes and gets him. Because obviously this guy has to be the smartest person in the room anywhere he goes. And whether he is or not, he believes it. And
yeah.
Well, it actually mirrors his downfall later in the book too, where it's like you can't lose, and then you.
And also may or may not have murdered his first wife.
yeah.
I'd say probably murdered his friend. Like,
Yeah.
Well, the only evidence they offer is that she didn't drink whiskey.
well, that they couldn't find the bottle, and like he didn't seem very concerned about it. And,
Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't seem concerned at first, but then they say that he was deeply affected by it later. So maybe he was like, what would you call it?
Blade action remorse.
Yes.
Late phase remorse. I know there's a name for that.
Because there's like a thing. Because there's he builds because it's called 1,000 pounds of dynamite. I'm not sure if we said that yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The story's called 1,000 pounds of dynamite, and he builds this bomb and puts it in a casino. But they do kind of go out of their way to like make sure that nobody gets killed. Like, hey, here's exactly what's going to happen if you don't follow these orders. And they clear everything out. Like nobody ends up dying because of this. But I mean, the potential is there. Certainly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. He put a insanely complex explosive device in a casino with the purpose of extortion. And the thing is however smart John Burgess thought he was, or maybe overestimated his intelligence, he was also pretty smart. Like in reality, he was mechanically clever.
Yeah.
Because the rest of his planning and execution was ridiculous. It's like I can build the bomb so complicated that no one can really disarm it, but when it comes to like my phone skills and how we're going to drop the money and all that, it's like we're going to give bad directions to the helicopter pilot, and
he just builds this big box, and then there's like another box on top of it that just has a bunch of switches on it.
Yeah,
because each switch like does something specific, which like arms the booby traps, and then some of them are dummies. And then if you flip the wrong switch, boom.
Yeah,
and then also it's almost like the box the box itself is kind of inside of a box, and there's like tinfoil inside of it. So if a drill bit were to drill through it, it would make a connection and set off the bomb.
Yes.
And then there's the screws have like a pressure thing on them. So if you start one of the screws, it would go off.
Yes.
There is a toilet plum thing in there.
Float in there. So
Yeah.
if you fill it with foam or water or whatever, it floats, it goes off. Pressure switch on the lid. If they open the lid, the pressure switch goes off.
There's
Yeah, if you move the bomb or do anything to breach it, it goes off.
if it tilts too far one way or the other, it blows up.
If it shakes too violently, too much, it goes off. Yeah.
And there's like some sort of like timer in there. Like I
It's
forget.
an irrigation timer.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's
Yeah.
anywhere from 24 hours, like a week, basically. And they set it for 3 days, I think, is what he said it. They set it for in the book. Because it totally went 24 hours. 'Cause that was their time window for the drop off.
Yeah, because they missed the drop off.
Yeah,
and like
I
they
know,
said, like,
that kind of the fucking thing. It's
and
like,
they made it sound like if the drop off didn't go right, the bomb was gonna explode, but it didn't.
well, that's the thing. It's like they even allude to that in the book where they're talking to the FBI agents and stuff like that, where it was like,
And like I can't like did the drop off just get fucked up because like the one woman got in an accident and they had to help her out, or like what?
no,
Exactly?
it got fucked up for multiple things. One, because they were late getting to the drop off because they forgot the fucking battery at the house.
Was that for the strobe light?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the whole plan, even if it went off, I think they would have got killed because the whole counter to their plan
Was an FBI agent with a MP5 and a
and
bag
night
full of
vision
fake
goggles,
money.
and then the 6-man SWAT team and a helicopter above that other helicopter. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it necessarily would have worked if it had gone to plan, but maybe.
No.
But at the same time, it's like they talk about like other people's clever plans for collecting drop-off money, because that's always the other hitch in the plan. Nobody puts as much attention into. They might have a clever note or a clever bomb ploy or some other thing they'll get away with perfectly, but it's always collecting the money, which is the problem.
Yeah.
Because like nobody does what they see in the movies, where it's like some elaborate tunnel beneath the drop-off point, so the money's gone before the feds know it's gone. Bullshit. And it's just like, well, in the story, they had $1,000 in cash, and then just the weight and shredded newspaper of the other $2.999 million of fucking cash, which is clever, because even if they do get the money, it's only gonna be $1,000, so who fucking cares? But at the same time, what was I gonna say? It's like everyone they've caught beforehand, as elaborate as like waiting 3 days in the middle of fucking desert in a water heater and they catch them, as elaborate as coming out of the water by a lake by like a fucking weird barrel and scuba gear, and they fucking catch them. And it's like in his plan is just to shine a strobe light at the pilot's face, take him at gunpoint, take the helicopter, take it at another point, and then everybody gets in a car and goes to Europe on a plane. And it's like, yeah, kind of a shitty drop-off plan, but I mean, I don't know what else to come up with. There's no like phones and other high-tech shit in the 70s. So.
And almost the like, what do you call it? The start of this. Well, he gets in bad gambling debts with the casino, and then he gets personally offended when they don't give him his typical room.
Oh yeah.
So that was kind of like the tipping point. And he builds his bomb and everything, but then like he convinces his kids to help him out, and they pretty much just help him out because he has cancer, and it's like dad's like midlife crisis. It's like and he's threatening to kill himself too. So that's pretty much like why everybody goes along with this. It's like, wow, we're just trying to keep dad alive. But like we'll get to some point where this will all end, and then like it doesn't.
Well, and remember too, he beat his kids mercilessly all the time they were growing up.
Yeah, they were afraid of him too.
Yeah, well, he was a terrible human being. I mean, there's nothing about this guy I read where it's like, oh, I feel sad for this guy. It's like, oh no, he's dying. Good.
But no, yeah, he beat the shit out of him just for putting their like elbows on the table and shit. So I don't think either of those kids. I mean, I definitely said it in the book. I don't think they love their father at all. They put up.
No,
with him.
they were
He
just
was
felt like
there.
a sense of like, wow, I got to do this.
I mean, the whole happenstance where like the bomb rolls back and goes over John's foot, and that makes them get out of delivering the bomb, and then these two knuckleheads fucking come in and deliver it. I thought the whole motel thing was the dumbest fucking part of the whole drop, because like everything went so smoothly except for that one part. Why did he make them stay in a fucking motel? Because not only did that create more eyewitnesses because the van died and the jumper cables had to be brought in a tow truck and shit, but also it's just like they delivered it at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning instead of like fucking 11 o'clock or midnight. The same guard shift would have been on, and nobody really paid them any attention, and none of the eyewitnesses at 4:30 in the morning could identify or make any distinguishing features for any of the fucking people involved in it they witnessed. And the one damning thing was they had the fucking license plate on the goddamn motel registry, which eventually got linked back to John, the John Jr. or whatever, the oldest son. And it's like, so why was that a solid plan? Like, you should have just got there, dropped it off, and got the fuck out of there.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was really like a solid plan. It was like there was contingencies for things, but no, I don't think anybody ever expected that this would get pulled off. Like, this is gonna get stopped at some point, but it goes far enough.
Well, I mean, his whole thing though, with like the giant sheet with the IBM embroidered on it, because computers are fucking huge back in the early '80s, so that makes perfect sense, and nobody's gonna question because he also has the same coveralls that the employees use, and they're using the same entrance and stuff like that. So it's like, that seems, I mean, as perfect as it can be for that type of shit. And the whole point, like, if you're going to commit a crime, you don't just loiter around in the area for as long as possible. That's not usually a good way, depending on whatever decade you're doing it, because video cameras, eyewitnesses, somebody's going to see something they're not meant to see. So it's just like, maybe just do it and get the fuck out. I mean, that was the whole gimmick of it. It's just, he was very overconfident with everything. That was never something he was very good at with planning. But at the same time, it's like, he was right about one thing though. Like, nobody fucking saw anything. So if they just would have got in and did it, I think it would have went smoother, and they definitely probably could have got away with it. Not that they should have, but it's just.
Well, that's the crazy thing is like when you're reading this book and like, because it starts out like you know exactly like who did this. You get to the point where, like, the FBI is like, we don't have any suspects. Like, what the fuck?
What do you mean exactly?
Like, there's, like, a couple, like, times where it's like, if a couple things went their way, this would be an unsolved crime.
Yeah. This would have been like the D.B. Cooper plane hijacking.
Yeah.
You know, where he bailed out, and, I mean, 90% odds he died in the woods, but still, it's like, he knows who he was, or what he did, or how he did it.
Same time though, it still makes it sound like they still could have gotten away with it if Big John would have just kept it in his pants and not tried to build another bomb / like fucking start shit up again. Since he didn't get his $3 million, he was gonna ask for 5 and plant another bomb with now remote controlled and all this other shit in a fucking bank or the same casino after it was rebuilt and shit.
One of my favorite parts of the story was when because 1,000 pounds of dynamite. Kids, for anyone out there listening, it's not easy to come across dynamite. It's not just laying about. I like how not only they worked out where it was, but then they cracked out welding torches to break into the room where the dynamite was stored. It's like, oh, that takes balls. It's like, hey, there's dynamite in there. Like, let's fire up a welding torch and cut through the locks. It's like, wait a minute. Didn't you just say there's dynamite in there? Okay. And then you can steal 1,000 pounds of it. And like, it's like a small blurb in the news. Holy shit, somebody has 1,000 pounds of dynamite.
And then later he steals 700 pounds from the same company by himself and still nobody notices.
Yeah, and it's not like immediately like they're not closing the state borders. And,
well, it's just like they didn't even try it after they lost 1,000 pounds of dynamite, which is not a small amount by any means. They didn't even try to improve their security measures. They're just like, no, this will never happen again.
It's a fluke crime.
It's like they got their 1,000 pounds. They're good. They don't need any more.
Also, so like they put the bomb in the casino, and then like they evacuate everyone for like a pretty large radius, and they're trying to figure out like how can we disarm it. Like they're taking X-rays of the bomb and all this stuff, and then like some Navy guy comes with the idea is like, oh, we'll use a shape charge, and it'll just like cut off the top thing, and then hopefully it'll get. So yeah, they take a shape charge and just try to blow off the top unit, and of course it just detonates it immediately.
Yeah.
And there's a video of the bomb exploding, and the crowd that's gathered around at the limit cheering as it explodes.
This is awesome.
I mean, I get nothing really rad probably went on to that area, but Jesus fucking Christ. It's kind of a shit thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, to this day, it's like the most elaborate IED ever made, I think.
Well, yeah, because the guy that was still alive, the lead investigator on it, said if that bomb popped up today, no one would still know how to defuse it.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any like techno whiz bang that would get through that to this day.
So it's kind of like, wow, that's really interesting because, I mean, they even said like the replica they made for the trial is still used at Quantico to train people on bomb disarming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, yeah, I don't know how you would combat that because he had so many fail safes and seemed to have thought it out. So, I mean, it said in the story, like, he had experience with explosives, with irrigation and stuff like that. But he didn't go through fucking bomb training and shit. He had military experience, but it was all aviation. Or at least that's what they said. I don't no idea if there's any other military aspect of it where it was like actual bomb.
Or it was like what was it? It was some feeders that he made that really like this whole bomb.
Oh yeah, the chicken
Turkey feeders, yeah.
Like a lot of the bomb was just kind of based off that concept.
Well, the pressure switch was identical.
Yeah.
Which they said was happenstance, or at least they couldn't prove it was, that way. Which kind of got me too, because as soon as they pulled in Johnny and Jimmy, or Johnny on the arrest warrant, but Jimmy at the same time, and they were asking him questions and stuff, and it's like all they had to do was ask for a lawyer. The whole thing would have fucking folded, and we would have been fucked up shit creek without a paddle. But instead, it's like your mom would want you to do this, and the guy fucking just cracks. And it's like wow, that's probably the best mom reaction I've ever seen.
But
Well,
the
another
only
thing that could have derailed this, that made it weird, was the two cretins that he had working for him. The casinos in that town, they pulled I think it was it up to $500,000?
$500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys could have like called someone on the phone and like, yeah, we helped deliver it. We know who did it. Okay, well here's your $500,000, but these guys wouldn't. It's like, duh. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, he had one like the only contingency for the bomb that he was ever going to give, like had he gotten the money. What I'm not sure. He said like he was going to disable the tilt mechanism because there's no way to do. Essentially, there was no way to disarm the bomb, but you could move it to a different place to explode. Then, and that was like the only contingency.
The switches on the front, if you threw a certain number of them, that he would tell you, it would disable like the trembler switch. So you could roll it around. You could roll it out to the desert and watch it explode. But yeah, that was the disarming, because some of those switches actually did things, but you would never guess their routing, because of the way he did it. Because everything was such an elaborate thing.
I like some of the other, like the first recommendations for disarming the bomb, where it's like, we'll defeat it with a bigger bomb, or like a bomb to blow that blast somewhere else. It's like basically kind of the shape charge idea, but on a much bigger scale. And it was like, is that really viable when you got 1,000?
We're just gonna blow up a bomb, and there's gonna be this bomb inside of another box.
This is the U.S. government here. We have nuclear weapons. We're just gonna put a warhead right next to this thing and set it off. That way, that homemade bomb won't cause anything. What's going to live anywhere?
Be the
around.
taxpayers destroying their own shit. Let's go.
Yeah, they can maybe stand at a further barricade and cheer that on.
Watches this tactical nuclear strike takes out this homemade explosive device.
Please do not look in the direction of the flash. This is
Fuck you, Uncle Sam.
You're not going to tell me what to do. Yeah, go ahead and stare at a nuke.
But no, fucking other than that, like their whole when they fucked up the delivery and shit, and they're trying to get him to flip. I think it was switch 5 or 15. I can't remember which one. But basically, it would delay the timer even more so they could get their money. But the police didn't believe him because they're like, just figured they're crazy motherfuckers calling in random shit just to see if the bomb would go off.
Yeah, who's drawing the short straw to go pull switch 60? Here's what happened.
Yeah, because that was
lots for that one.
well, yeah, because the other plan they had was to flood the bomb with liquid nitrogen, which I don't know how they do that if they couldn't drill a hole in it. If there wasn't, I don't think there was an opening unless liquid nitrogen is that tiny you can like go through a screw hole or something.
Well, he pretty much knew everything, because that is a way to disarm a bomb. That's why he invented all those deterrent devices in there because he knew about every way they could do it. Because you could fill them with water, fill them with liquid nitrogen. So he basically came up with a checkmate for everything they'd want to do.
At least in the time frame they had.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, if they had an infinite amount of time, they could get 50 people on it. They'd have figured it out. But no, not when you have, just. And no one wants to sit around a bomb that may or may not go off randomly at any time. Some dude made this in his garage. This wasn't made in like a laboratory somewhere. So it's like, yeah, the whole concept's insane.
Well, they talked about too, like when he stole the 700 pounds of dynamite, like his brother-in-law that owned the bird farm and shit. Like he wanted to, take his fucking feeders out and like get the money back and stuff. So he like put dynamite under the one bridge into his farm or whatever. And I couldn't tell if it said he blew it up or.
Yeah, I don't think he ever said if he blew up the bridge or not.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, if he followed through on that.
Dynamite over that bridge.
Because that just doesn't seem.
Go
like
get it, kids.
You're being investigated, your whole family, for having dynamite to try and blow up a casino. That's dynamite a bridge. Sounds like a good idea.
Let's distract the FBI with the exact thing to put me away.
Yeah, I not much of a psychological profile on this guy. It would be interesting to if they ever did a study of this guy, like what exactly his problem was.
I mean, you saw like pictures of him where he's like getting walked away in handcuffs. He seems like happy that people are paying attention to him.
Yeah, during the trial, he was very mad that the investigators are calling his bomb shoddy in any way. He was like, "No, your shit's shoddy." It's like my stuff is immaculate.
I like you said, like the FBI was negligent. Like they could have used a light to like drain the battery on the bomb or something like that. Like that was a. While he was like representing, he was defending himself at some point because all his lawyers just like, "Oh, this is bullshit. You're guilty as hell."
Yeah, like 4 lawyers bailed on him. And he had to cross-examine his own children.
Yeah,
dark. But nothing happy about this story.
Well, unless you count how he met his wife and picked her up in like a single evening, basically. Where she was married to a fucking soldier, and then like he danced with her and said you should come away with him and marry him. So she dumped the soldier and got divorced, and they married and fucking like refugeed the United States. And then he's like years later when they're happy and millionaires, and he's like, oh, she's a whore. She has sex with people for money, and she just has sex with anybody. And it's like, well, okay, because she threw away her first marriage just by dancing with you once. You think that woman's gonna completely change not to fuck anything that moves? Like, I don't know. But yeah.
Think this was gonna turn around? But yeah, it's in the 1,000 Pounds of Dynamite in the Atavist magazine by Andrew Higginbotham. Who wrote Midnight in Chernobyl. Check it out if you're interested.
Yeah, I think there's like multiple stories like this from like early '80s and stuff where it's like I can't believe like I've never heard of this before. 'Cause there's like that I remember like in the same time period there's that In Broad Daylight, that book. Like a town just comes together and murders a guy and nobody's guilty.
Yeah. Town thug, they just all like, yep, we're killing him collectively.
That's the kind of community service I could really get behind.
That worked.
How many people were there? Oh, at least 80. How many witnesses were there? 0.
I was looking at my watch the entire time. What time would you say the murder occurred? I don't know. My watch is broken.
I couldn't tell between the firing.
Hard to figure it out. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy. Well, it was like the stuff people know about, like the, DB Cooper hijacking the plane and then jumping out of the back of it. That's a weird story from the 70s. I'm trying to think of what some other stuff. There seemed to be a lot of just casual violence and insanity going on then.
Was Patty Hearst the 60s or the 70s?
70s.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like like the Miami drug war stuff, like all those, like the cocaine cowboy
Oh yeah,
documentaries. That stuff's all crazy.
Well, because wasn't also like the Manson slayings, were those in the 70s, or was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, late 60s, early 70s. Yeah, there's not a lot of, there's no census on why crime dropped from then, because like movies like Escape from New York, like that whole opening scenario about how crime rose by 300% and all, that was actually not far from the track we were on even when that movie was made. It's like, well, if the crime rates keep going up like this every year, pretty soon we're going to be ungovernable. Like this is not going to be a recognizable peace that, where people can live and flourish. But there's a few theories. Roe versus Wade is one of them. Remember the guys from Freakonomics put that out there.
Yeah.
Like as soon as on-demand abortion became widely available, it's like, oh, within 10 years the crime rate started dropping. And then taking lead out of our products, they think because if people are exposed to a lot of lead, I guess they get really violent. I don't know, I never heard that.
Oh, and violently dumb too.
Yeah, well, it's the same. So yeah, stupid people.
No impulse control.
Violence is always the solution to every problem. What was the other one? Oh, alcohol. People drinking a lot less, especially poor people. They drink a lot less now than I guess they used to. That's been cited as one, but nobody knows.
That's a shame. They should really start.
Should really start changing that.
And then the one I like that I think is probably the most plausible is the wide economic growth we saw in the 90s. Is like that to me, that seems like the duh answer. It's like, oh, you don't need some complex cultural anthropology here. It's like, well, a lot of people suddenly had good jobs again and money and they stopped killing each other. No shit. That yeah. When you have something to live for, it's like, should I kill that dude? All this. No. But if you're just sitting around in squalor, it's like, how does this compare to prison? I don't know. I don't have to pay rent in prison. So.
Yeah, or just death in general. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's just, yeah, that's why everybody, when they talk about, like, the death penalty being a deterrent is complete horseshit, because it's like, yeah, people are going to stop killing people or doing horrible things because you would get killed for it 20 or 30 years after you fucking did the crime.
Yeah, the death penalty would be a deterrent if death was imposed in, like, a week. Like if they could investigate the crime, find you guilty, and just take you out behind the courthouse and shoot you, and people could watch, oh yeah, that might be a deterrent. Or it would just be entertainment. You never know which way it's going to go around here.
But just, living in a rent-free room with free food and board, and then as many appeals and free lawyers as you want for 20 or 30 years until your sentence is carried out. It's basically a shitty life, but it's still life.
Yeah,
So,
it's not a lot of geniuses on death row. A lot of good decisions made along the way. But yeah, when you hear the stories, like some of the guys I know and have talked to over the years, and just had hours to talk to them at work and stuff, like growing up in Detroit, being poor, is like that is. If they told me they grew up somewhere in Siberia and were telling me these stories, it's about as far away from what I can understand as that. Like that is a whole different universe of living when you grow up that way. So I'm not unsympathetic.
Oh yeah, speaking of Detroit and destitute neighborhoods, I guess I didn't know rich people are doing poor tours now. So there's tours of Skid Row in Detroit.
Oh well, yeah, people have been going there there's all kinds of YouTube videos. People taking videos like trees growing up through houses and.
Well, it's not even that. It's like actual tour buses and guided tours of poor neighborhoods.
So it's like the Star Tours in California, but it's like the reverse of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor tour.
And they do that with like third world countries and stuff like that too in Africa, where it's just a bunch of, especially apparently there's
laugh at them as they try to survive.
In like Liberia, there's like a bunch of German tourists go there all the time just to like walk through ghettos and like take pictures. Like they literally have a bunch of kids that are emaciated, their bellies are sticking out, and it's just like, pose for these pictures, kids. And it's like Why? Why the fuck do you need
Oh,
to do
they're
that?
going to go back and have the best sex of their lives after that kind of indulgence.
But it's just like, wow, I guess I didn't know that if you had money, the one thing you want to see is people without fucking money.
I can't enjoy my money until I know someone is as worse off as I can
I
possibly
had to
be.
make somebody's life miserable to have this money. I want to see that person before they die.
Oh, thank God I kept all this money and didn't help a fucking soul.
And God's gonna reward you, right?
Remember, I said thank God.
I will be richly rewarded. It's like, yeah, I just wish I could be there right as the lights go out, so I could see that vague look of disappointment on your face right before you cross over to, you know, it's like the end of the black hole where you're just whirling in hell. Like, well, that worked out good.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
just,
it's not like I do anything to help anyone either, but I also don't have a lot of resources. So,
well,
and I like to build models and read books.
well, that's the thing, though. I'm fine with doing charity work, and I like doing it when I do it. But at the same time, I figure my charity work is making sure I don't have to be somebody else's charity case. So if I help myself, that means I'm helping one person.
I'm with you on that one.
So, I mean, yeah, it might suck spending money on models and going out to eat and stuff, and not, putting that money back in the community or helping somebody directly. But I also do, buy nice gifts and try and help out my family when I can if they need it too. So I'm helping people, just not the people I don't know. So
Yeah,
I don't
kinda,
help strangers.
I kind of view it as like shared sacrifice. It's like, look, I know you haven't had anything to eat in 3 days. I also had to settle for the 12-ounce steak at Outback the other day because I didn't have enough money. So, see, we are both suffering.
Also, there's no way I could send that steak.
I
to
only
you.
got two sides. Two sides, you monster. Like,
Before you crack down on me, realize my life is hard too.
as you put on your Gucci sunglasses and step into your Land Rover.
See, you have the real wealth because fuck.
You're free. You don't have any responsibilities. You can sit in this alleyway in a puddle of your own piss all day. No one would make any demands of you.
And plus, you don't have any debt. You're more liquid wealth than I have.
That's free.
You're not burdened with selfishness. Don't you understand?
Yeah. You're free.
To die.
You are truly free. You're living the American dream, which is freedom. And chronic drug addiction. And freedom.
And undiagnosed and unsupported mental health problems.
Yeah.
Reminds me well, I guess it doesn't remind me. I was trying to come up with this joke, and I thought it was really funny at first because I couldn't say it without laughing. Like now.
Okay.
But now now that I can say it without funny, I don't think it's that funny anymore, but we'll see. So imagine a commercial for like the Star Trek experience. And it's just a
Okay.
very drab someone just like someone who hates their job trying to just read these lines for this commercial. And it's come on down to the Star Trek experience. Set phasers to fun and then negligently discharge them into your face.
See,
I got to negligently discharge and I would just start cracking up. So-
See, I got to set your phasers for fun, and then,
and negligently discharge them.
Oh. Yep. So that's 1,000 pounds of dynamite and a lot of other social problems.
So we watched a movie.
I watched a movie this week, which Conlon graciously sent me on a big Blu-ray DVD set called Princess Mononoke, which was actually pretty coherent for a Japanese kind of fantasy film.
Yeah.
Sometimes those get weird. And
Did anybody watch the subtitle?
Okay, I
version that was
didn't. Yeah,
available?
no, I didn't.
Okay, because I watched the dubbed and it was weird at some points, but it was still following.
Yeah, I hear a lot of bad things about the dub version that it's missing a lot of stuff, but I didn't watch the subtitles though. So
Yeah, no, I just thought it was funny to have Billy Bob Thornton talking in that like Arkansas accent in the middle of like feudal mystical. I was waiting for him to break out some bad Santa shit, like when they were running away with the god's head. Like, could you guys get your shit together? What the fuck are we doing here? I was waiting for it, but it never happened.
I mean, it
I'm
did really.
supposed to take care of all this fucking shit myself.
I mean, I have to say, it did really add to the evilness of the character, though. Like,
Yeah, kind of did.
So, I mean, it was very much added weight. I don't think I would have got from the subtitled version.
But a lot of animes I see, like, this is pretty coherent for most animes. Like,
Yeah.
even like Akira and Ghost in the Shell, like, at some point they just lose the plot completely, and it's just, like, all, like symbolism and art.
Yes.
Or this says it's the symbolism here is pretty, you can follow it, but also I didn't watch the subtitles, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm missing out on, but like I kind of filled the gaps with whatever I think you can fill the gaps all right.
Yeah, I mean I like Japanese stuff sometimes, but I do not like the wild incoherencies, and this movie did not have a whole lot of that.
Also, I think we are probably aided because we watched a bunch of those Kurosawa movies, and I think there's a lot of similarities between this and that.
Yes, all the humorous characters in this is like, oh, that's a Kurosawa character.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You mean the wife that completely, one of the guys that gets brought back?
Oh, my
from
husband
being dead, and like just.
Oh, look at this new guy! I want to fuck him.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what a worthless pile of shit. Why do I like you? I want to fuck you now. And that's why I was like, I kind of wish I had the subtitle version, or at least the subtitled part of it. So I was like, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the subtitle part of. Like, I hope it wasn't, because yeah, like every woman in that town wanted to fuck him, which was disturbing. I mean, I know they're all supposed to be ex-prostitutes.
Yeah, they're prostitutes, but
that was kind of a nice touch. I mean, because otherwise lepers are working on stuff, so it's kind of like society.
Okay. That's what I made the leap to, because I didn't know if like how they were working on it was like causing like a bunch of like they were working with chemicals or stuff, and that was like making a bunch of stuff on there. I was like, and at some point I was like, oh no, they're lepers, because I thought that was the interesting thing about what's her name? What's Lady?
Oh yeah, god damn it.
Oh, Gillian Anderson?
Yeah. No, she does the wolf. The lady's like fucking Emma Thompson, I think. The lady of Guntown.
Yeah, I can't think of her fucking name.
But anyways, yeah, she gathered together all these prostitutes to like work on the we're gonna make guns to kill gods, and then like also she's also like gathered together all the leopards. Like there's actually like something weirdly endearing about how like she was, even though she's like Hiboshi.
Eboshi.
Okay.
Sorry.
So she isn't just like, I mean, she's like kind of evil, but there's also like good things about her, which is kind of weird. So.
Yeah, because she's taking all the people that in society nobody really wants and undervalues, and making like a god-killing force out of it, which is pretty actually awe-inspiring. Because I mean, it seems like in the movie, like she's actually going toe-to-toe with other real-world players too, like kings that are feudal samurai and stuff like that, and kicking their asses, even though it doesn't seem like it for some of the movie, which was kind of weird.
And also, she's like keeps trying to she wants to make the guns lighter so that like women can carry it, so that she can like create more equality with guns.
Well, just that, and she also has way more whores than she does soldiers, so it's just easier for the women to do it. But yeah, it seems like she'd be equally happy just having a bunch of old prostitutes next to her firing guns.
But it starts out with I forget the main character's name.
Jailbait.
Ashitaka?
Yeah.
And he's like, there's like something in the forest, and there's like this weird like worm monster shadow thing comes out of the forest, and then he ends up killing it, but like he gets infected by essentially hatred.
Yeah.
And this boar was like infused with hatred because it got shot with an iron bullet. So apparently, like iron can kill gods because it makes them hate. somehow. And yeah, this is all about like this is all about man versus nature,
Yeah.
largely.
Yeah, and this is kind of like the world of technology versus the world of magic.
Yeah.
And also like everything in this movie is called a demon.
Yeah.
And when we think of a demon, that's like, oh, that's one of Satan's servants, like a fallen angel. A demon is something way different in Japanese, because a demon can be either like a scary monster or relatives you've dishonored, like through your failures. Like it has all because I was looking up, it's like, because I know there's like something called a tengu, and there's different kinds of demons. I think this was just kind of like an English translation meant the word demon.
Yeah.
I don't know specifically what if they were talking about fallen gods or like the tengu spirits or something, but yeah, that was this actually made me look into Japanese culture a little bit. I'm like, what are they trying to say and what's missing?
And because he's infected, he has to like cut his hair and leave the village forever.
Yes, we can never look at you again.
He takes his red elk and rides out of there because he
Yeah.
rides an elk like a horse. I like how there's like a bunch of horse substitutes, but no actual horses. What? No, I guess there's oxen.
The samurai had some horses.
samurai.
Yeah, that's right.
And he'd shoot an arrow at him that would decapitate them.
Because he was infused with the power of hatred.
Means he could shoot someone with a bow on the run and cut their head off every time.
Or cut both the guy's arms off.
Oh yeah, that one too. Yeah.
I was like, is this a PG-13 movie? It's pretty harsh.
Well, I like how he like feels guilt over the first two people he kills. The guy he takes the two arms off of, and the guy he takes the head off of. And it's like, who says you killed the first guy? He just doesn't have arms anymore.
Yeah, they could have closed those wounds up. Probably not. But,
And like, yeah, and there's like almost no way an arrowhead could rip someone's arms off. So that means like just the pure, like, force of air evaporating the guy's arms from an arrow flying faster than the speed of sound.
yeah, it was something cool like that.
But no, like even isn't it like pretty much whenever he's in the presence of either the forest god or like something really weird, like the wolf princess and stuff like that, like its arm seems to bulge and like react, but he only cools it off by like putting it in water or something.
Yeah, water's like a healing agent here, which I would immediately interpret as you're infecting the rest of the world if you're putting it in the water. Because I'm like, China syndrome. Like this is your
Drink out of that.
But here it's like water is like the kind of a not a complete healing agent, but it is a healing agent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's always crystal clear too. Not that they would show a lot of pollution and stuff, but it's something where maybe just like symbolize purity or symbolize cleanliness or whatever, and kind of, I don't know. They just don't show, besides the deforestation of the hill and stuff like that. They don't really show a lot of, until like the big die-off scene in the end. They don't show a lot of bad effects of nature. It's all lush and beautiful, and it seems clean and nice. Whereas obviously the gritty, dirty part is the industrialization and war.
Yeah, well, it's like the one part where she gets like the new gun and she fires it, and you just see these like shadows and red eyes in the distance, and it's like, they keep trying to plant trees. I'm like, why is that a bad thing?
Goddamn Armor motherfucker.
But it's like they like ran out of iron, so they had to like go in a different route to get the iron. So that's why they cut down all the trees, something like that. I can't remember why, but yeah.
Well, yeah, they ran out of sand to sift and process for iron ore, so they had to start mining the mountain, and they had to deforest the mountain to get to it. And then the monkeys were kind of like the evil part of the forest spirit, almost, with the boars in the movie, which they were only represented as dark, shadowy figures with red eyes, which seemed kind of racist, but also not. So
well, it's weird, like, because like they start out like formless, like when you just see red eyes and dark shapes, you don't even know they're apes, and then the next time you see them, they're still like just kind of like figures, but they identify themselves as apes, and then later on they just look like apes. Like a Disney ape or whatever. So they kind of just like keep revealing the animal kingdoms, or I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my favorite weird animal in here or the weird little creatures were the Kadoma, the little tree spirits where their heads would turn and they'd rattle. It's like, is that supposed to be cute or terrifying? Doing both.
Yeah,
Doing both pretty good.
Wasn't really a comforting image, no. But they really only had the one scene where he rescues a couple guys, and then like at the end when they're kind of dying off, that was really the only.
Yeah,
it was like because like they show up when the god or whatever comes to heal him. They're climbing all over the trees there.
That's true.
Yeah, they're around. They're weird though.
I mean,
managed to be scary and fun at the same time.
Well, I mean, equally weird. It wasn't a creature, but it was like the assassin or henchman guys with like the boar skins.
Yeah,
they almost seem like they're moving like cockroaches or some insect more than boars. And it's like, wow, okay. I mean, I figured they'd just be running upright with the boar skins over their head, like the head jutting forward. But that was a nice imagery switch. It kind of made them more vile and detestable.
Yeah, because they don't reveal that they're under there. You just assume it, and it's like they just look like weird monsters.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
slugs that move quickly.
And then fucking Keith David has to like lose his shit.
I do
my warriors have returned. No, they haven't.
Those are just their skins.
How can you tell you're fucking blind? Like, I was really impressed with how much detail they went into the blind leader of the boars, where it's like all this crust and dead shit in his eye and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess I didn't think you'd have that much detail in there, but yeah, that was nice little touch for no reason. But no, like the whole movie was pretty solid. Like, I was surprised. Usually, there's been good animes that I've liked, but like you said before, Conlon, it's always kind of hits that peak where it's like, it's a good movie and it's really solid, and then it hits that point where it just becomes art. And then,
incoherent plot and art.
Yeah, I know, and it's just like, I haven't seen anime for a while that hasn't had that problem. And so
it happens with a lot of movies. Like the TV series usually take the plot a lot more serious because it's easier to write plot than to animate an entire television series. And because like the Ghost in the Shell TV series, like it really like it's really well done. They follow a lot of plot lines through, and it's not so much like the incoherent like mess that is like the end of the first movie and the entire second movie. But yeah, so this movie actually came out in 97 in Japan, but I chose it for 99 because this came out in 99 in America. But also this is probably like the second big push for like a Japanese anime movie in America, because the first one was like Akira. That was the first like check this out. Well, maybe like Star Blazer or Speed Racer, but that like not necessarily. But like Akira was the first one. Was like, holy shit, here's Japanese Blade Runner, and like it was all over there's ads like all over TV and for that like that video that manga video service, like they would have all that shit.
Oh, Crunchyroll or whatever.
No, back then it was just called manga, but I'm not sure if it's still around anymore. But manga used to like release all the animes here in America. But then like when DVDs came around, like that all got like split up. I'm not even sure if manga still exists. Well, it probably do. Now it's all Crunchyroll and other anime services. And then there was a decent push for Ghost in the Shell. Like there'd be magazine ads for it and stuff like that, but I don't think it was like any kind of like national like commercial push for that. But like people were aware of like, hey, this, and I think it was like the first like trailer I saw like on a CD, because there was like a magazine that came out with it was a CD magazine they came out with in the late 90s called Launch, and they had a trailer for Ghost in the Shell in that CD magazine. And that was the first trailer I saw for Ghost in the Shell. And then this was picked up by the Weinsteins, or I guess Miramax at the time, and they tried to push it. It wasn't necessarily that big, like financially successful here, but it's like it got a pretty big push. Like people knew about Princess Mononoke, and I think it came around in the award seasons too for like, give it an Oscar maybe. But the animated I'm not sure. It'd probably be nominated for best foreign film or something like that.
Well, isn't
Yeah.
like Studio Ghibli every time they come out with anything now basically nominated for an Oscar for best animated film?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not sure what the last. I think because they do other stuff, but I mostly and I haven't really seen. I know like a lot of Miyazaki stuff because Miyazaki's kind of seen as the Walt Disney of Japan.
Except not as hateful towards Jews.
At least not publicly.
Like, I know like the first movie he was a director on was a Lupin the Third, which was a TV show, and he did a movie for it called the Count of Caligristo. I can't remember. Yeah, it was Lupin.
But based on the Edgar Allan Poe thing?
Maybe, I'm not sure. It was
Count of Monte Cristo is the Edgar Allan Poe.
No, this is Caligristo. It's like
okay.
It's like some Italian word or something.
Okay.
Man, I think it's the Count. Oh fuck, whatever. You can look up his filmography. But like it was like Lupin the Third's like a weird kind of like goofy James Bond, but like we murder people to spy but he's a thief. He's mostly a thief. Like that's what Lupin the Third is, a goofy thief movie with occasional violence. And that was like his first director debut. And then what was it? My Neighbor Totoro is another one like people talk about a lot, and I've like heard a bunch of things about that. There's Nausicaa and Valley of the Wind. That was another one he did. And then Howl's Moving Castle. That was like a couple years later after. That was in 2001. That came out here. And then I think there's another one called Ponyo. He did that one. So.
Oh, okay.
That's like a bunch of Miyazaki movies, but.
Yeah, he's done a lot of movies.
Yeah. He's getting up there, dude.
He's almost 80.
Well, every time someone talks about him, it's like it sounds like he's on death's door. It's like, this is my last movie, and he just keeps doing his last movies.
Yeah.
It's the time he doesn't say he's doing his last movie. You should really worry about him dying with it.
Yeah, this is going to be a 3-movie arc. He drops over dead. That's usually how it goes.
But yeah, so this is probably like a, before DVDs. Well, I guess it's around the same time. So like this, in combination with this and DVDs coming out, like this is when anime got big again.
Yeah.
Was mostly just on, because the crazy shit you couldn't show on TV. It's like you got to buy it on DVD, and they had, and then they had the. Man, they grifted you on prices for anime. It's like if you want to, you gotta like, oh, you want a season of anime? Well, it's here. Spend $20 for episodes 1 and 2. Episode 1 and 2 come with a box to buy the other discs to put in that box that we gave you when you bought the first disc. There's a lot of crazy, stupid shit like that.
Well, yeah,
This is kind of like this model stuff I was talking about earlier, where it's just. It's like the people that are producing this work aren't making any of this money. You're not helping them. Just grift through the distribution process.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well,
That sounds about like Japan, though. They do a lot of shit like that over there.
Well, back in first days DVDs and TV shows, like things, were a lot more pricey for like a season of TV. Even American TV, it was like $80 or $90 somewhere places for fucking just a random fucking show off a network.
I mean, that can make somewhat sense, like if you account for like because I know like Star Trek DVDs are always crazy expensive, but it's like, all right, there's 26 episodes in the season. Let's say, actually, I guess it'd probably be about $3 per episode, because those came out like $100, and so the X-Files, those were the
X-Files are really expensive.
Yeah, they really
now you
grift
can
for
find them in
those.
bargain bins for like $5.
Well, you can find them like any streaming service has it.
Oh yeah, I know, but
That's what really changed it around. Is like streaming services kind of made it way easier to watch anime.
Well, because I remember back when when I hadn't seen Farscape and you started giving me copies of Farscape, and it was like 2 episodes at a time on a disc. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I knew only like 1 or 2 episodes would fit on a disc anyway, but you're like, oh yeah, it's not even the sequence episodes. It's like, okay, this episode and that episode from the same season. but it's on different fucking discs or whatever because that's the way they distribute it because there's an anime company that distributed it.
Oh yeah.
So they had to like, oh yeah, this episode
Yeah,
goes
'cause
great with this one.
Yeah, because they did the same grift with the Farscape stuff, where like you didn't buy like a whole season set, you bought like the episodes, and then like they gave you a box to put the entire season in the box when you bought the first disc. But each disc costs like $20, or even more. Sometimes it was like $30. So like if you wanted to buy season 1 of Farscape, it would cost you $120.
Yeah,
That's
so it's
why
probably a
I'm
good
glad
thing
we
to
joint
get
watched
one.
Farscape from Netflix. So I mean, shit. I still forgot that Netflix still even had a fucking DVD mailing service because my father-in-law still gets a DVD.
But that's why I got the Farscape stuff through Netflix. I was like, fuck that.
No, I mean it's smart because it means make them pay the cost for the damn thing.
But now they just would have it on their streaming service. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
and is it streaming anymore now? Because I thought it was.
what, Farscape?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
I
last
mean,
time I knew
I
it
have
was still
open
on
access to
Netflix.
it. I own the whole fucking thing in Blu-ray at home.
Yeah,
So it's not like I
I thought it was on Netflix last time I knew. I don't know that they'd necessarily take it off, except for, I don't know. Sci-Fi doesn't seem to be doing too great. They just canceled 2 more of their shows.
Oh, which ones?
What was the deal with Swamp Thing? Like they canceled it after its first episode?
Pretty much, they were like on the way to cancel it, but like they finished the season, released the episode, and then like basically
Oh,
canceled it.
I thought that was a DC Online series.
Yeah, it is.
But so what the fuck happened to Doom Patrol? Because somebody said they like had the first episode of that free, even though the season's done, and I can't find that anywhere.
I don't see. I was waiting for them because that one was weekly. Because I do want to see that one because I heard good things about it. But I was waiting until they actually had the whole season out because I don't want to actually like. I don't want to subscribe to DC Universe thing. I just want to get it, watch the Doom Patrol season, and then fucking cancel it.
Well, because I wanted to see Swamp Thing too. Like the trailer made it seem interesting but weird.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, well, I like the comic books and shit, so I was gonna check it out. And I didn't know they canceled it like literally right away.
But yeah, like Sci-Fi, they had like their 2 recent new series. They had Deadly Class. They just canceled that. They canceled Night Flyers. But I think that was. I'm not sure they meant to do more of that or not. I didn't even watch the season. I just heard you hated it because we were gonna do a thing where it's like, because you read the books and you hated it, and like I didn't read the books, so I was gonna see if I hated it as
that
well.
that was George R. R. Martin's space thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see what it was all about, basically, because I thought maybe it might be interesting just to watch it. I didn't think it was going to be good. Because sci-fi shows are always kind of seem to be a hit and miss.
Yeah.
Like, there's some shows that go on for, like, 9 seasons, and they're loved by everybody. And then, like, another series that comes out the same year, it's like, wow, who the fuck greenlit this shit? And it's like, okay.
The Canadian one seemed doing well. Like Winona Earp, I think, is still going.
Yeah, and I tried watching that, and no.
And then I think what's the vampire one?
Oh, the Van Helsing thing?
Yeah. Or is it just Helsing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually watched the first season, and until like the last 2 episodes, I actually liked it, and then I disliked it, and I tried watching the second season. I couldn't. No, just no. It seems interesting, and it seems like it should be a good plot, but it's just. It's something about Sci-Fi's production values when they produce things that puts me off because it always has the same look.
Well, it depends on the company. Because I remember, the Asylum people. They make those really cheap knockoffs, like Atlantic Rim.
Yeah.
So they did. There's a zombie show they had on Sci-Fi called Z Nation.
Yeah.
So Asylum produced that show.
Yeah,
But then you look at The Expanse, and that was produced by like an independent company, and they were kind of just like splitting, like ad revenue, but like the company itself paid for the entire production of The Expanse. Sci-Fi wasn't paying for the production of The Expanse, so that's why like the ratings got low. They just canceled it because there was no skin off their back, because they could just put like another Winona. They just put Winona Earp in its place, and they would make the same amount of money.
Yeah, it's kind of a wash for them.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, I know you can't always, especially when you're trying to fill a whole fucking schedule, Because I know Sci-Fi still has like B movies they run during the day, and just old shows and other shit they syndicate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like quality begets quality. So if you're gonna produce quality, usually most of the time that shows up in your bottom line. I mean, you can't just produce the same like this slocky shit again, except a new premise.
They go through their phases because like I remember like, you know, they had that Friday night lineup and that like that's where Farscape came out of. But then you had like Lex and like First Wave, there was a Friday the 13th, like anthology show.
Oh yeah, with the cursed artifacts thing.
Yeah. Like that was a part of that, and then like, you know, Farscape is genius, and then like, you know, First Wave is like, oh, it's just a cheap Canadian show. Like I'll just watch that on my way to getting to Farscape, and then Lex was another just like toilet paper, like produced sci-fi show. It started off on Showtime, which is fucking weird. It was a Showtime, like Skidamax.
Yeah, it was like low-level porn.
Yeah.
Sci-fi, and yeah, that had a weird arc. I never liked that.
And then and at some point they canceled Farscape, and like, but Lex was still around because they just had like 7 seasons of Lex lying around. And then, you know, then they just went into a bad period where like it was just all crap, and then they came back with Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, you had some good shows there, and then like, you know, they winded up Battlestar Galactica, and then like, you know, what are we gonna do next? And it was like just a bunch of crap, and then we came back, we got The Expanse. It's like, oh hey, here we're back, and they canceled that. Now it's all crap again. But also like their audience is very limited because like they kind of split things between like USA and Sci-Fi, but like USA is like 3 times. Has 3 times as many people, or maybe 10 times as many people watching it than Sci-Fi.
Well, I mean, Sci-Fi at least used to do Mystery Science Theater 3000 reruns, and it used to do other stuff that actually I thought drew people in more because they seemed to do events and stuff like that. Where, I mean, they always had a fucking like Hallmark movie of the fucking month or whatever they rolled out. It was shit, but at least, you know, I think
surprisingly good.
Well, I think
Dog Soldiers was a good surprise.
That's actually a good werewolf movie. Which
SS
me.
Doom Trooper is way better than I thought it would ever be.
Was Sharknado
from the title alone? I would just
was Sharknado a USA thing or a Sci-Fi one?
That's produced by Sci-Fi, but it's produced, or it's funded by Sci-Fi and produced by Asylum.
Oh, okay. So, but it aired on Sci-Fi,
yes.
right? Okay, so that's technically also another hit, even though I've never watched it.
Yeah, I watched the riff tracks of those.
Oh, there's a riff tracks?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, because we found that if we our TV's like antenna for some reason, like either a software update just finally made it work or something. But if we like accidentally just like leave it on like the just hovering on the home button and it doesn't select like YouTube, Hulu, or any of that shit, it'll just go to the antenna automatically. And there's a riff tracks channel on the antenna, so it just plays random riff tracks throughout the day. And it just has like random ad pops up for like, watch riff tracks. Like, we know we're watching it right now. It's like, what else are we supposed to do? But yeah, I'm kind of wondering what else is on there, if there's, because they're advertising more stuff like coming or ones we should watch or whatever. So I don't know if it's just kind of.
They have a bunch of ones on Amazon.
Yeah, I saw that, and I've been watching those.
I really like Megaforce.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Wirehead was a good one too.
Yeah,
because it's just like such a weird era of filmmaking. It's like the Soviet Union fell. Get in there with cameras. Let's make movies, you know, with just because you could shoot in Eastern Europe. I think they'd pay you. Like we'll give you 3 bottles of vodka if you shoot a film here.
It was like starring Jack Lemmon's son.
Yeah, just weird people. Get some names in there. It's like, well, these people have never acted. They're just somebody's kid. Doesn't matter. Just get them in there.
Yeah,
but the bad thing about the review system for the riff track stuff is it's hard to like, are we giving this a good score because the riff tracks was great, or are we giving it a bad score because the movie was terrible?
Oh yeah, I thought that was some kind of in-joke.
Well, that's the thing. I've only ever stopped watching a Mystery Science Theater or a riff tracks because the riff was bad, not because the movie was terrible. I don't go to Riff Track expecting to see a great movie.
Yeah.
Like, especially the new Mystery Science Theater 3000, where they had the theme, like the marquee poster thing going for like the 5 movies they did.
Yeah.
And I saw him watch the last like 2.5, so I feel bad. But like I've really been drawn into that because like the first movie was like, yeah, I really wanted to see that, and the second one was like, never heard of this, but it was a good fucking, and just like shit. Oh fuck it! Oh yeah, it was the first season, Mystery Science or Theater 3000, where I watched the first episode. It was just this one fucking like retarded janitor guy at the science.
Oh yeah,
whatever. They're making fun of him. It was horrible to laugh at, but at the same time, it was fucking amazing.
He just gets shocked by an electric eel, and he's making all these weird faces. It's
Well, coming back to anime real quick.
Okay.
Sorry.
Princess Mononoke, watch it.
Yeah, watch
It's
it.
really hard to find. We had to buy DVDs to watch it because Studio
Yeah.
Ghibli has erased it from the internet.
I mean, I think it wasn't too bad though. It was $16 for Blu-ray
Yeah,
DVD.
and I appreciate. Thank you again, Colin, for sending me that.
Yeah.
Because I'm too cheap to spend money on shit like that. I appreciate it. But anyway, the guy who directed Thor Ragnarok, his live-action version of Akira has started filming in Southern California.
Oh.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that was.
They've
getting
only
off.
been in development hell for 19 years,
Yeah.
but maybe
I
something.
figured it was going to stay in development hell because I guess I actually didn't know he had a scheduled shoot for it.
Yeah, well, they got their California
wasn't
$20 million tax credit. So
wasn't like Jordan Peele attached to that at some point?
I'm not sure. There's a huge. I'm on Box Office Mojo.
Yeah.
Development history on this is like completely bizarre.
Yeah.
Like 7 directors.
I think James Cameron at
writers.
some point was attached to it.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
So anyway, it's going to be.
I mean, he did produce Battle or Alita, so.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that movie again until I saw it was coming out next month on Blu-ray or whatever.
Yeah,
I
I'll
was like,
watch
oh, yeah.
that on demand service.
Yeah,
So
it's a
how do you
pretty.
say this guy's name? David Watiti.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sounds
His
about right.
name.
I kind of wonder what he'll do with it. I've only watched the first half of Akira. I've never seen the whole thing.
Oh, okay, then you're not missing anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
The first
Just
half's
because-
the best part.
It just
Yeah.
becomes weird body horror at the end.
No,
so-
I know.
and
That's why I stopped
and
watching
a laser.
it. That's why I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, the laser's cool, but
I don't know if he'll. I mean, he had such a weird take on Thor, but it was so awesome that I'm kind of wondering what he'll do visually since he's did such a great job visually with the Thor movie.
yeah.
He seems to be a good
Oh
director.
yeah, I think from Thor you could see like an Akira movie popping up out of there. I don't know how serious is he gonna be because Akira is a pretty serious fucking movie.
No, I know, and I don't know if he'll interject humor because I don't think I've seen a movie of his where he doesn't have humor in it.
Yeah.
Because even because we talked about this before, his movie, I'm sure that's been done by now because if he's doing Akira, he's not going to be doing that movie. His imaginary kid with the imaginary Adolf Hitler friend or whatever in the 1950s.
Or maybe he's just doing that too. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that was his next project. That's why I
Yeah.
didn't expect Akira to be doing anything right
Well,
now.
maybe they're like in the planning phase, right? Or did you say they were shooting? Because you just said they were shooting. in
July 2019 is
Okay.
when they start shooting, and the movie has to be shot 100% in California because they got more tax credits from California. I'm just reading this
Okay.
than they've ever given to any movie. They gave them $20 million
Oh, Jesus.
in tax credits to shoot there. It's a $200 million movie. Okay,
Yeah.
this probably
That
isn't.
seems right or low. I don't like.
No,
how
that's-
much
I
was
mean-
Thor Ragnarok to make?
Probably around that.
190 million.
I'm assuming he's not shooting for like a full length remake of Akira, like everything.
No, he's probably. This is with America. This is a movie shot in America, produced by American studios, with an Largely American cast. So I don't think they're going to go for the esoteric semi-tentacle porn. They might, but you can sieve a straight up story.
Is it an Asian cast though? Are we
No.
Are they gonna end up in Ghost in the Shell problems?
I fucking
Probably.
hope not.
This will be called, Akira with 2 American flags crossed. And it'll be set in Neo Los Angeles instead of Neo Tokyo. So it's like we're taking license because we paid for it.
Well, the only thing I can think of as far as a comparison right now, it would be the Speed Racer movie by the Wachowski brothers. Because that costs quite a bit of money. It was a pretty big flop. I appreciated the movie for the visual masterpiece it was. Not so much anything else.
No, it's
like
chimp in it.
it's a fun, incoherent mess. Yeah, there's
Emil
a chimp in
Hirsch
it.
and John Goodman and
Susan Sarandon.
yeah, I was gonna say Susan Sarandon, but I couldn't remember if she was in it or not.
And it was Matthew Fox, the dude from Lost.
Oh yeah.
He was Racer X.
And who was his girlfriend? Wasn't a well-known actress too?
Fuck, is she was in Easy A, that then La La Land? Was it her?
I don't think it was. I think it was somebody else. God damn it, I'm blanking on her name.
Or is it the chick from the Addams Family?
Yeah, that's why I can't fucking remember her name.
Yeah, like Italian name.
I'm looking it up.
Colin will find it. Nicole Richie? No,
No, I don't think it was.
no, that's a
Nothing's popping up for me.
Even like Addams Family has nothing.
I'm not sure like how this is
played
organized.
Wednesday or whatever.
Oh yeah, Christina Ricci. Yeah.
Ricci, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, that movie, I mean, very stylistically, I think would fit with what he would like to do, or looks kind of like it, because it fits a lot of the Thor Ragnarok aesthetic with the bright colors and flashiness, and kind of like retro styling. But also, it's way too lighthearted and too much humor, which is what he would probably like to do with the movie. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I could see him doing like ridiculous shit with the gangs, like in motorcycles and all that ridiculous nonsense, and riding around on motorcycles with one wheel and shit.
The
Yeah.
giant motorcycles that look like jet engines with a wheel on them. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, otherwise, I can't think of. I mean, obviously, the only other animated live action is Ghost in the Shell, and that was okay for what it was. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's.
It was cool looking. The story didn't really come together, but I thought it like looked cool.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that franchise, so.
Oh, I haven't told you to go watch Ghost in the Shell like a million times.
Might have. I don't know. I'm not good at following directions.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes anime is hard to like get a hold of cheaply, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've only watched some Ghost in the Shell episodes that Colin gave me copies to watch and stuff.
Yeah, that's the one where like
This
I
is
bought the first couple episodes and it came with that empty box where you're supposed to fill it in.
Box of shame. Sadness that never gets filled.
Yeah, like the movie is like the movie's basically like, you know, it's like Blade Runner esque in like its style, and it's very and even beyond that, and like just cool action. The story becomes pretty much incoherent towards the end because like, wait, what happened? And like I said, 2 is, you know, 2 is essentially like they tried to make a David Lynch movie with Ghost in the Shell and like future shit. It's fucking nonsense. But the TV series is pretty. It's legit. It's like it's cool from beginning to end, and has like really cool. And like each season goes places. Actually, there was even like another reboot of it. Because in the first series, it's called Standalone Complex. Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. That's the name of the first TV show. And that deals with the Major and her. And you don't really get any backstory on her. It's kind of assumed that they were in a war and like her body got really fucked up, and now she's just completely a robot. It's basically just a brain in a robot body. And then, but then they did this kind of a reboot of it called Ghost in a Shell Arise, and there's like this chemical bombing in a city, and it pretty much killed everyone, but she wasn't born yet, and so basically her mom's body kind of protected her, but they still couldn't save her baby body, and so they put like her baby brain in like a robot, and like kind of just as she grew up gave her new robot bodies, so she doesn't really know what it's like to be a human. She only knows what it's like to be this, you know, human brain in a robot.
You don't go dark or anything.
Just think of this as Japanese RoboCop.
Yeah, long game RoboCop. All right. Well, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Colin.
Andrew.
America.